Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto has Madara's eternal mangekyou sharingan and fairy tale. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Okyptos and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Dragons? Everybody thinks that dragons are myths. Well, not everybody. There are people what we call dragon slayers. It is said that these people inherit the powers of a dragon, so in time they can defend themselves from dangers. Many people say that dragon slayers are raised by real dragons. But mostly nobody believes that there are dragons. There are, or there was, nobody knows, many dragons. Fire dragons, lightning dragons, sky dragons, metal dragons and so on. But nobody actually believes these things. Except a few people that were raised by dragons. There is a guild that is famous with its 3 dragon slayers. They search for their dragons all over the world. Natsu Dragneel, the son of Ignel. Gajil Red Fox, the son of Metalicana. Wendy Marvel, the daughter of Grandini. These 3 kids have never let their hope die. They still search their fathers, or mothers in Wendy's case. This is where our story begins. A sad and angry dragon is watching his child fight. He is sad because he can't be there for his child, angry at himself for leaving him. He had to do it to protect his child, but he still feels guilty. He is the fire dragon, the mighty Ignel, but he wasn't forever a dragon. Before a very long time, he was a human. A human in the name of Namake's Naruto. He had sacrificed himself for his friends, his village and his beloved ones. In fact, all dragons were once humans. Because of the Kyuubi no Kitsune that resided in him at that time, he transformed into an entirely new being, instead of dying. Demons couldn't die, after all, and the seal that his father had put on him prevented the demon from escaping even after death. He hid himself from the world in the depths of the lava pools. He hid himself in the flames. Centuries later, he changed his name to Ignel. He had closed his heart, until someone finally managed to open it again. Natsu Dragneel had opened his heart once again. The fire dragon actually thought that the kid had a special power. A power that he had when he was a human, the power to warm hearts. He accepted the child, took him under his wing, protected him, gave him food, taught him how to survive. One day, he had received a message from the other dragons for a meeting. They would leave their kids in a selected date. Ignel had declined immediately. Metalicana and Grandini had also declined, saying that their kids were the most precious thing they had. But they were outnumbered in this decision. The other dragons said that it was forbidden for them to live with humans. The dragon trio had scoffed at that. Ignel, Metalicana and Grandini. Why not? There is no rule book for us, Grandini had said at that time. They couldn't talk back. Still, it was clear that they were outnumbered, so they left their children. It was the extreme punishment for them. They also suffered, along with their children. They wouldn't stop looking for their dragons. That hurt the dragons even more. That was until now. Ignel grunted and stood up. He glowed a bright yellow light, before it died down. In the place of the monstrous creature now stood a man around his mid-20s. Somewhere around 24 or 26. He was 6'2" tall, bright yellow hair, a handsome face, blue eyes with slits instead of pupils, a muscular structure, and 3 whisker-like scars on each cheek. His hair brushed his shoulders, on top it was spiky. Imagine the yondaime, with whisker-like marks and with slits in his eyes instead of pupils. Damn it! My eyes are still the same. Naruto muttered to himself, and thought of a way to hide his eyes that were a dead giveaway that he was Ignel. Natsu would recognize him like that. He was sure that Natsu would remember his blue eyes with slits. He was going to see his son, but he didn't want Natsu to discover him just now. He would reveal himself after some time. He couldn't keep it a secret forever, and he just couldn't bear Natsu being beside him and not recognizing him. It would kill him. He stretched out his hand and on it appeared a white bandage. He wrapped it around his head, so that it covered his eyes. It didn't matter if he couldn't see. His other senses were just as strong. He probably wouldn't need it. Then he realized that he was completely naked. He rubbed his chin for a moment, then flames engulfed him. When the flames died down, there stood Naruto in his new attire. He had a black muscle shirt and black shinobi pants from his time. He wore black boots, suited for battle. To honor the memory of his father, he also had the white coat with flames licking the bottom. The only change was that there were no kanjis for Yondaime Hokage. His forearms were covered by metal gauntlets, those that A and B wore. His hands were covered by fingerless black gloves. On his thigh was a single kunai. It was a 3-pronged one. The one he used to use for Hiraishin. He didn't think he would need it, but just in case. The green diamond was hanging from his neck, the one that Tsunade gave him. He checked himself over a bit more, and then disappeared in a swirl of flames. Naruto appeared again in a swirl of flames, this time in a place covered by many trees. He looked around and closed his eyes. He concentrated to locate a magic source, the source of Natsu. His eyes flew open and he nodded in approval. He turned around and started to walk calmly towards south, where Magnolia town was. If he was correct, that was where the guild fairy tale resided. While he was walking calmly, he was looking around. The atmosphere was calm and relaxing. It helped him clear his mind. After quite some time, he reached his destination. Magnolia town. It was bustling with life. The streets were full of life. Shops were open, children were playing around, and people continuing life. He continued to walk calmly. While he walked, he noticed something. No one looked at him as if he was weird. Maybe people were used to see strangers, or just in this town were a lot of weird people like him. He didn't pay any mind to it. Naruto approached a small girl, probably no older than 11 years, and asked his question. "Hello little one, can you tell me where can I find Fairy Tail?" Naruto asked calmly. His face betrayed no emotion or whatsoever. His eyes didn't, because they couldn't. The little girl looked up to see a man that had a white coat with red flames licking the bottom of it. But the most strange thing was that around his head was a bandage that covered his eyes. The girl lifted a hand and pointed down the street. This caused Naruto to chuckle slightly. "You must tell me, little one." "I can't see," Naruto said calmly, in a soothing voice. The little girl blushed from embarrassment, and quickly mumbled a small apology. "It's at the end of this road, mister," the girl said, looking at him with curiosity. Naruto nodded his head, and just as he was about to continue his way, the same girl stopped him. "Mister, what happened to your eyes?" the girl asked with innocent curiosity. "It was just curiosity, nothing else." Naruto looked at her for a moment, then answered. "I want to make a surprise for a friend, and I don't want him to recognize me by my eyes. So I decided to hide them," Naruto said in an amused voice. The little girl giggled and then nodded. Naruto continued his way without another word. After a couple of minutes, he felt a great deal of magical energy from nearby. That had to be Fairy Tail. Apparently, there were many mages in the guild, so it would be acceptable that there would be a great deal of magical energy. Naruto took a couple of steps more, and then reached out with his hand to press it against the door. "I hope I did the right thing," Naruto thought before pushing the doors open. It was a normal day in the guild Fairy Tail. Or if you can call it a normal for a normal person. The place was turned into a war zone. It all started with Natsu challenging Gajil and Grey into a fight. Gajil had to use his magic to hit Natsu, but accidentally hitting Elfman right in the face. Then Elfman went rigid about how a man should defend himself, and chaos erupted. Yes, it was a normal day for the members of Fairy Tail. Lucy was sitting at her chair at the bar, looking at the chaos before her with a sweat drop. What was with them starting fights the very first thing in the morning? She couldn't find the answer though. "Don't worry, Lucy-san. I'm sure it will end soon," Wendy said nervously. She was too actually a little bit of confused as to why every morning there was a fight. "I sure hope so," Lucy mumbled to herself, and dropped her face in her hands. Mary Jane was just smiling, like nothing was wrong. She glanced around to spot her little sister Lysana, but she had no such luck. Instead, her eyes landed on a person she had never seen before. She guessed that he was around 2 feet tall and was 24 or 25 years old. He had blonde hair that brushed his shoulders and a bandage over his eyes. He wore a white coat with red flames licking the bottom of it, but she couldn't make out what was inside. The strange thing was that on each cheek he had 3 whisker-like scars. His frame was muscular. "Hey! We have a visitor, stop it!" Mary Jane yelled, and everyone grew quiet as their attention went to the newcomer. Slowly everyone's eyes widened at the form of the man. Naruto pushed the doors open and kicked back the urge to cover his ears. The place was like a war zone. Everything was being thrown at someone, or somewhere. Spell names could be heard. Apparently, this guild liked to fight with magic or hand-to-hand. Mostly magic, he guessed. But a certain shout of somebody caught his attention. "Fire dragons roar!" Natsu shouted, as from his mouth shot a tornado of fire towards Gajil. Said man just jumped away and dodged the attack. Naruto got a small smile on his lips after he heard that. He had found Natsu. Finally, somebody had noticed him and shouted, "Hey! We have a visitor, stop it!" Yelled a white-haired girl from somewhere at the center. Everybody stopped what they were doing and looked at him. He could feel their mouths hang open in shock. The members of Fairy Tail quickly broke apart and sat at the tables calmly. Naruto actually had to push back the urge to sweat drop. While being careful, he started to walk towards the source of the shout he had heard earlier. He was careful, because he didn't want to trip over anything. He knew that he wouldn't fall, but being sure never hurt. Naruto could feel the gazes currently resting on him. He sighed, and finally, after a time that seemed like a century, he reached the bar. He heard soft footsteps coming towards him from the bar. He guessed it was the same one that had yelled for everyone to stop. "Hello, how can I help you?" Mary Jane asked, smiling. Naruto's ears caught the voice and turned towards it. "I want to join the guild," Naruto answered calmly. Mary Jane was taken aback by that statement. "Are you a mage?" Mary Jane asked once again, her tone dripping with confusion. Everyone turned quiet, and their attention was at him. Naruto sighed. His senses were still that of a dragon. He could even hear the drops of water in the corner. He could sense everything around him. He was just as strong, even without his eyes. But he couldn't let them know that. Not yet, at least. "Yes, I am." "Why, is there no place?" Naruto asked. No. Of course there is. But we must wait for Master to come. He will arrive shortly. Mary Jane said with a small smile. Naruto nodded. Can I wait here, if it's not too bothersome? Naruto asked once again. Mary Jane nodded and saw that Naruto was still waiting for an answer. She mentally slapped her forehead before answering. Of course. It will be no problem. Naruto nodded and went over to a table and sat down. Everyone returned to their business, but the newcomer was still the hot topic. Hey Gray, Erza, Lucy, Elfman, Wendy, let's go talk to the new guy. Natsu offered. They all nodded and stood up from their seats. They made their way towards the man, who was sitting cross-legged and was looking at the ceiling. He couldn't look through these bandages though. Only his head was towards the ceiling. Hey, are those seats free? Asked Natsu. Lucy whacked him over the head for that. Naruto only nodded, but his head remained in the same position. They all took their seats and there was an uncomfortable silence. Fortunately, Lucy broke it. Hello, what is your name? Lucy asked. Naruto finally turned his head towards her, but she couldn't make out how he managed to know she was exactly there. My name is Namikaze Naruto. Nice to meet you. Naruto answered shortly. Lucy smiled and told him all of their names. Hey Naruto, where are you from? Natsu asked. Even if I told you, none of you would recognize that place. I'm from very far. I'm not sure if even one person knows the place where I come from, Naruto said in a calm voice. His voice radiated power, Erza noticed. This was no ordinary man. I heard that you were a mage. What kind of magic do you use, Naruto-san? Erza asked with narrowed eyes. This was man not normal. Naruto turned his head towards Erza and raised a hidden eyebrow. He crossed his arms on his chest and asked, Why do you want to know, Erza-san? Naruto asked, feeling defensively. Erza's eyes narrowed even more and her eyebrows furrowed. Well, I'm just curious. Would you like to spar some time? Erza asked, wanting to know what his abilities were. This shocked the entire group. Erza wanting to spar? Against a blind man? Maybe you can find out for yourself, Erza-san. Why don't we spar right now? Naruto offered. Erza was taken aback by that, but she inwardly smirked. Very well. Let us go to the training ground. Erza said and stood up. Everybody once again stopped and turned their attention to the group. They all stood up and followed the new guy and the Titania. I will go easy on you, since you are new and you don't have your eyes. Erza smirked as she equipped a simple sword. She didn't think she would need to use any of her armors or weapons. Naruto just nodded and took out the three-pronged kunai from its sheath from his tight. Everyone's jaw dropped to the floor. A simple knife against the Titania? Well, let's see if I still remember the Hiroshin. Naruto thought with a smirk. Erza readied herself and charged forward. Naruto didn't move, the kunai was still in his hand that was by his side. Erza raised her sword and swung it down. Dust and smoke covered the area, so much for the new guy. Almost everyone thought. What they saw when the smoke passed away shocked them all. There stood Erza, her sword impaled to the ground. But Naruto was nowhere to be seen. What? Erza shouted. Just as she was about to take her sword out from the ground, she froze. Slow. Naruto only muttered behind her. Erza's eyes grew wide with shock, along with everyone else's. When had he moved? Erza took the sword from the ground and swung it behind her, only for it to slice the air. Too slow. Naruto muttered once again from behind her. Erza was once again shocked and jumped away to create a distance between them. She narrowed her eyes. How do you move so fast? Erza half asked half yelled. That is for me to know, and for you to not know. Naruto said mockingly and drew back the hand that held his kunai, preparing to throw it. Erza gripped her sword even tighter and narrowed her eyes. Naruto threw the kunai directly at her head. Erza only cocked her head to the side, letting the kunai pass. This was just the thing Naruto hoped for. Just as the kunai went by her head, Naruto disappeared with a yellow flash and appeared behind her, with one hand holding both of her hands in place, and the other one holding a kunai to her throat. He was behind her. What? How? Erza was at loss for words. She had only seen a yellow flash. Naruto released her hands and removed the kunai from her throat, and turned towards the guild building. Wait! Was that your magic? Erza asked, still feeling shocked. Naruto turned towards her, and cocked his head to the side. No. My magic is entirely different. That was merely a technique that my father invented. It's called the Hiroshin no Jutsu, or you could translate it as Flying Thunder God technique. As for my magic, I use an element. There is one person with the same element as mine right here. Naruto said calmly, and ignored the looks that were a mixture of curiosity and awe. Erza was defeated like that? Well, that was surely interesting. Called a new voice. Everyone turned towards the entrance and saw Master Makarov. Master! Everyone shouted at the same time, except Naruto. Makarov's gaze was upon Naruto. He narrowed his eyes. This man was hiding a great deal of magic energy. He hid it so well, that he in fact would have missed it if he had concentrated enough. I heard that you wanted to join this guild, right? Any special reason? Makarov asked, narrowing his eyes. In fact, yes. There is one special reason. Naruto said calmly, his face betraying no emotion. Since his eyes were hidden, Makarov couldn't make out what emotion was in them. What might that be? Makarov asked with a raised eyebrow. I don't want to reveal it. It is a very special reason, and I don't trust anyone easy. Naruto said and sighed. Makarov's brow furrowed. You can trust us. Makarov pushed. He was really curious now. Naruto chuckled lightly. The members were taken aback. This was the first that Naruto had ever displayed any emotion. Trusting too much cost me my eyes. Maybe in the future, I can reveal my reason, but certainly not now. Naruto said. The thing about his eyes was a lie, but he didn't want them to know that he could see. Many were saddened by that fact. They now understood why he didn't trust so easily. Well then, I see no reason to not let you into the guild. Welcome to Fairy Tail. Makarov said, and the entire hall erupted into cheers. But, Makarov said, raising a finger. Everyone stopped their cheering. I think we all want to know what your magic is, since you held your own so good against Erza. Everyone shouted yes, or just nodded. Naruto sighed. You are curious about my magic that much? Naruto asked, looking to the crowd. They all nodded. Naruto, this time, couldn't hold it back, and sweat dropped. As I said, my magic is entirely different from the thing I used against Erza-san. The technique I used was Flying Thunder God technique. It was a teleportation magic that my father invented. Naruto said, and saw everyone's jaws hit the floor. Amazing. Teleportation? Levy asked herself mentally. But what is your actual magic? Natsu asked impatiently. Naruto turned his head towards Natsu and smiled. Everyone once again was taken aback by his display of emotion. Well, I don't know if I should tell you. Do you really want to know it? Naruto asked, smirking. Why couldn't he have some fun? The members groaned and yelled yes. Yes, all over again. Naruto put his hand near his ear and made a movement like he didn't hear it at all. I'm sorry? I couldn't hear you. Naruto trailed off. Everybody was shouting, tell us. Tell us. By that time, I'll give you a hint. There are 3 or more people here in this guild right now that use the same magic as me, Naruto said, his face again betraying no emotion, but he was laughing his ass off inside. Take over magic? Mary Jane, Elfman, and Lee-sana hopefully asked at the same time. Naruto shook his head. Natsu, Wendy and Gajil were sure that it was no Dragon Slayer magic. They would feel something if it was. Well, I guess it doesn't matter anymore. I've hid it for too long, Naruto said and sighed. Everyone grew quiet at that. What did he mean? I used Dragon Slayer magic, Naruto said seriously. Everyone's eyes grew wide and their attention turned to Natsu, Gajil and Wendy, whose eyes were wide as well. The Dragon S Slayer? Wendy asked a bit shakily. Naruto looked at her and nodded. That is correct, Wendy, the daughter of Grandini, Naruto said. Wendy's eyes grew wide with shock. Why, you know G. Grandini? Wendy asked a bit hopefully. Naruto nodded. Natsu Dragneel, the son of Ignel. Gajil Red Fox, the son of Metalicana. This time, it was Gajil's and Natsu's eyes that were wide with shock. You know Ignel/Metalicana? Natsu and Gajil asked at the same time, standing up. Naruto once again nodded. This means dragons are real? Asked Alzak. Yes, they are real. In fact, I know the reason why they leave their children, the Dragon Slayers, Naruto said, with a hint of anger in his voice. Natsu, Gajil and Wendy immediately stood up. Why? Why did they leave us? Why didn't they take us with them? Asked Natsu, looking to the floor, fists clenched. Lucy's eyes softened and she put a hand on his shoulder, an effort to comfort him. Did they not want us? Did we do something wrong? Gajil asked, punching the wall, creating a small crater upon it. Everyone could see the tears that were threatening to fall in Natsu and Gajil's eyes. Before either of her comrades could stop her, Levy went over to Gajil and put her small hand on his forearm. Gajil looked at her, and she could see the tears gathering up in his eyes. Then she did the only thing she could think of, she hugged him. Gajil was shocked. No, they didn't leave you because they hated you. I can only tell you this, that they didn't hate you. You will figure it out yourself, when you are old enough. Naruto said. Tell me, damn it. Why did Ignel leave me? Natsu asked, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Naruto's heart was breaking. Naruto wanted to hug him, tell him that he was Ignel. He wanted to end this pain for Natsu, but not just now. When the time came, he would tell him, but not now. He needed to endure this pain for now. Right now, the only ones that remained at the training grounds were him, Natsu, Lucy, Gajil, Levy, Wendy. Happy and Carla were away. Everyone thought that they needed to give them some privacy. It was a personal matter, after all. Gajil was still looking at the blue-haired girl that was still hugging him. He looked around, and saw that no one was here at the moment. He hesitated at first, yelling at himself to stop, but he couldn't right now. He wrapped his arms around Levy, pulling her closer to him. Natsu fell to his knees, and punched the ground. Oh fuck it! Naruto said to himself mentally and started to walk towards where Gajil, Natsu and Wendy were. Lucy-san, Levy-san, Gajil-san, Wendy-san, could you leave us? I want to talk Natsu for a moment. Naruto said. This earned some confused looks from all of them, but they nodded nonetheless. Gajil made a move to stand up from his position on the ground, but Levy didn't move. He looked down to see that she had fallen asleep. His sweat dropped. He stood up and carried her bridal style towards her home. He knew the location of her home from following her every night secretly, just to make sure that she was safe. Wendy and Lucy returned back to the guild building. Natsu looked at Naruto with a confused face that Naruto could feel, since he couldn't see because of those bandages. The bandaged man went over to Natsu and put a hand on his shoulder. Before Natsu knew it, he was in a place covered by trees. He looked around in confusion, before his eyes landed on Naruto that was staying in front of him. Why did you bring me here? Natsu asked, looking at him. Naruto sighed and started to undo the bandage that was around his head. Natsu's eyes locked onto his head. Naruto finally had removed the bandage, but his eyes were still closed. Hello, Natsu, Naruto said, opening his eyes. He saw how Natsu's eyes widened. Hello, Natsu, Naruto said, opening his eyes. He saw how Natsu's eyes widened. There was a silence for a minute. Naruto was looking at Natsu with a calm face, while Natsu was looking at Naruto with a shocked face. Ignel? Natsu managed to ask finally. Naruto sighed. Yes, Natsu, it's He was cut off by Natsu punching him in the stomach. The air left his lungs. He clutched the place where Natsu had hit, his face and eyes holding the emotion sadness. I guess I kinda deserve that. Reminds me of my meeting with my dad, Naruto thought, coughing. He looked at Natsu's face, but it was shadowed by his unnatural pink hair. Why? Why? Why, goddammit? Natsu roared, lifting up his face. Naruto saw the tears that were rolling down from his cheeks. Naruto's heart broke into tiny pieces. Naruto was once again silenced, this time by a punch to his face. He fell to the ground backwards from the force of the punch. Naruto stood up, ignoring the pain in his left cheek. As he stood up, he once again saw Natsu's tears, this time rolling down freely from his eyes. Naruto disappeared from his place and appeared in front of Natsu, and hugged him. Natsu struggled for a moment, then wrapped his arms around his torso. He was crying. He was crying so much. Naruto felt something on his cheek. He touched his cheek, and when he drew back his hand saw that it was wet. It was then that he realized that he was also crying. Natsu, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry, Naruto repeated over and over. Natsu just hugged him even more tighter, as if he was afraid that if he let go, his father would disappear. Why did you leave me? Natsu asked in a choked voice, an effect from crying. Naruto raised a hand and stroked his hair. I didn't want to leave you. Never. You were the most precious thing I had, Natsu. How could I leave my child? Naruto said. Natsu cried even more and gripped him even tighter, if it was possible. Then why? Natsu asked once again, burying his face in Naruto's chest. Naruto sighed, and patted Natsu's head. I was forced to. The other dragons decided to that. Metalicana and Grandini were also forced to leave Gajil and Wendy. I guess they were jealous of us, Naruto said quietly, but soothingly. Natsu looked up to his face and asked, his eyes still red from the crying. What do you mean they were jealous? Jealous of what? Jealous of you. They were jealous because we had what they didn't. I had you, Metalicana had Gajil, and Grandini had Wendy. You were so precious to us, that we would gladly give our lives for you, Naruto said, smiling at the young boy. Natsu once again buried his face in Naruto's chest. I searched for you so much, but I couldn't find you. Where were you? Why didn't you come back to me? And why did you come now? Natsu asked, looking up to him once again, expecting answers to all these questions. Naruto sighed. Well, for your first question, I was in my domain. A place no human can enter. For your second question, I couldn't come back to you, even if I wanted. There was a barrier that prevented me from reaching out to you. As for your third and last question, I couldn't take it anymore, so I broke the barrier and came back to you. I'm sure Metalicana and Grandini will come soon too. They probably felt me breaking the barrier, they would be here soon. Naruto explained. Natsu calmed down, after some minutes. His breathing got steady, and Naruto could hear his heartbeat hitting normal. You didn't hate me, right? You didn't leave because you hated me, right? Natsu asked, wanting to be sure. Naruto's lips quirked upwards at that. He let out a small chuckle, and ruffled Natsu's hair. I couldn't hate you even if I wanted to. I loved you so much, even if I couldn't express it. I guess I had forgotten how to express my emotions. I was once a human too, after all, Naruto said. Natsu's face was that of a confusion. What do you mean you were a human once too? Natsu asked. Naruto realized what had he said and cursed in his mind. That I will tell you some other time. Now, are you feeling alright? Naruto quickly covered, not wanting to talk about his past. Natsu grinned, showing his white teeth. Yeah. I finally got my dad back, what else could I want? Natsu asked, still grinning. Naruto chuckled and ruffled his hair once more. Then Natsu's grin disappeared, and was replaced by a frown. But you won't leave me, right? You will stay, right? Natsu's voice was full of worry and fear. Naruto grinned his own trademark grin, showing his perfectly clean and white teeth. Not a chance in hell. I won't go away even if you want me to, Naruto said, his grin that was an everyday thing to him in the past, now being a very rare emotion, still being in place. Natsu grinned once again, and hugged him. I'll never want you away. You are the only family I have, Ignel. Natsu mumbled against his chest. Naruto laughed, a true laugh coming from the heart. His laugh made Natsu laugh too. Besides, even if you wanted to go, I would kick your ass and bring you back. You got it? Natsu threatened playfully. Naruto raised his arms in defense. Got it, got it. But I don't think that you can defeat your father, even if you are a lot more stronger now. I'm a dragon, my magic energy is nearly endless, Naruto said, smirking mockingly. Natsu's face broke into a frown, and he rubbed his chin. Whatever. I will find a way to beat you one day, believe it, Natsu said, pumping his fist to the air. He didn't know from where the believe it phrase came from, but it just felt right with him, like it was an instinct. Dream on. Naruto trailed off. They both laughed together. But then, Naruto's face broke into a dead serious one. Natsu, listen to me carefully, Naruto said seriously, making the young pink-haired kid stop his laughing. You cannot reveal that I am a dragon to anyone. I'm sure that Gajil and Wendy will understand that I am a dragon when we enter again the guild, but they will know not to talk, Naruto said, seriousness not leaving his tone, nor his face. Why? Natsu asked, feeling confused. Naruto just sighed and shook his head. The reason, I cannot tell. But you can see it like this. What will happen if everybody finds out that there is a dragon in Fairy Tail? Naruto asked. Natsu thought for a moment, before it hit him like a brick to the head. Exactly. No one will rest until they capture me, or always attack the guild from preventing it to evolve more. Or in the worst scenario, the Magic Council will try to capture me, and use my power. Remember Natsu, we dragons are powerful creatures. You can think of us as an endless lacrima. Although, I am more concerned about you and your friends. They cannot capture me, or even bruise me, Naruto said, his eyes hard. Natsu gulped and nodded. Natsu still remembered the woman who had captured him and used his dragon slayer magic to work her machine. He didn't want Naruto to be used like that, not that they would succeed. Natsu knew the power of Ignel, and he knew that if Ignel wanted to, he could wipe out the entire town just by moving a finger. But the Magic Council was strong too. He honestly couldn't guess the outcome. They finally released each other. Natsu's grin was making the day even brighter, for Naruto that is. Naruto gave his own grin. Now let's go back to the guild, shall we? Naruto spoke up. Natsu nodded excitedly, but then stopped. Naruto noticed this, and stopped as well. Hey Ignel, can I ask you a question? Natsu asked, rubbing his chin. Naruto only nodded, leaned against the tree and crossed his arms. Can all other dragons can take human forms as well? Natsu asked, looking at him. Naruto only sighed. Natsu, this is my original form. I was once a human too, as I told you. Other dragons were humans as well. I was transformed into what I am now because of something I held when I was still only a human. Naruto explained. Natsu only nodded. Will Gajil and Wendy be able to see their dragons? Natsu asked once again. Naruto once again, only sighed. I honestly don't know. It is harder than you think. Even I had to think a few years to decide whether should I come or not. They must be ready to face the consequences, like I did a while ago, Naruto said, rubbing his cheek. Natsu looked to the ground, filled with guilt. Naruto only grinned, and put an arm over his shoulder. But now I finally have my son back, what could I want more? I'm sure they will come too. But you won't be able to recognize them. You could recognize me because of my eyes, which I couldn't change because they were like that when I was still a human. They can change to their human form as well, but they can change their eyes. Naruto explained expertly. Natsu could only nod. Now let's head back to the guild so we can enjoy ourselves, Naruto said, grinning. Natsu also grinned, and punched the air. They walked towards Magnolia town. But Natsu stopped, and his face broke into a frown. Hey Ignel, why can't we teleport like we did a while ago? Natsu asked. Naruto stopped, and chuckled. Well, you see, I only had one 3-pronged kunai, and it's in the guild training grounds. I needed to use it to teleport us here. So I can't teleport back, Naruto said. Natsu only sweat dropped. Natsu told Naruto his story about how he joined Fairy Tail, how he found Lucy, how he defeated the Oration Cease leader, and so on. Naruto was impressed, although he didn't show it. He just listened. Natsu, you can't call me Ignel in public, Naruto said, looking at the boy. Natsu only sweat dropped. I know that already, Natsu said, crossing his arms, and a pout appeared on his lips. Naruto only laughed softly and ruffled his hair. Hey, how about I teach you some moves? Naruto asked, knowing well that the pink-haired boy wouldn't be able to resist that offer. Natsu's face lit up with excitement. He nodded excitedly. Naruto once again, only chuckled. It was strange. Naruto didn't know why he acted all happy all of a sudden, but he was sure that it had to do something with Natsu. The kid was an energy house, and he is my son, Naruto thought proudly. Naruto was sure proud of his son. Natsu just didn't know it. After they entered the town, they began to make their way to the guild. Natsu then realized something. Naruto's eyes were uncovered, and his eyes were blue with slits. Who would think that was normal? Ignel, your eyes! Natsu exclaimed, pointing at his eyes. Naruto sighed. Yes, I know, my eyes are blue with slits. Don't worry, I will explain it as well as I can. I guess I can say that it is a cause from using Dragon Slayer magic. Naruto said. They walked in silence after that. Natsu was grinning happily, while on Naruto's face was a small smile. As they walked, Naruto felt a tug on his white coat. He looked down and saw the same girl that he had asked directions from. He smiled at the girl and kneeled down to eye level with her. Hello again, little one. Is there something you need? Naruto asked gently. Natsu also stopped and watched the event unfold in front of him. The little girl didn't saw anything. Instead, she continued to look at Naruto's eyes. Mister, your eyes are so beautiful, the girl said, blushing a bit. She was 11 for God's sake. Naruto gave a full-hearted laugh at that one. He reached and ruffled the girl's hair. Thank you. I can say the same to you, because you have very pretty hair and eyes, Naruto said, not lying in the least. It was true, the girl had very pretty brown hair and startling green eyes. She blushed a bit again, and muttered a quiet thanks. Well, I must be on my way. It was nice meeting you again. Can you tell me your name? Naruto asked curiously. My name is Aiko. Goodbye, Naruto-san, Aiko said and ran off, waving to him. Naruto also waved and turned around, but then he noticed something. How did she know his name? He hadn't told her. Naruto quickly turned around and hoped to spot the little girl again, but she was nowhere to be seen. He pondered on this for a moment, but he was shaken off from his daze when Natsu called to him. He shrugged and quickly caught up with Natsu. The rest of the walking was spent by Natsu talking. Naruto still had a small smile on his face, a sign that he was truly enjoying himself. People looked at them when they heard Natsu talking so loudly, but returned to their work once they saw who was talking. Naruto, though, that was amusing. Eventually, they saw the guild building, and they decided to race towards it. Hey Ignel, let's race, Natsu said, grinning. Naruto smirked and nodded. I'm all fired up, Natsu yelled, before taking off in a great speed. Naruto only shook his head. Natsu reached the guild doors, and turned around to wait Naruto. A hand from behind him touched his shoulder. Hello, Natsu, someone said. Natsu turned around. Hell, Natsu's voice died in his throat when he saw that the one that touched his shoulder was a currently smirking Naruto. How when Natsu stuttered. Naruto only chuckled. He ruffled Natsu's hair playfully. I'll teach you that sometime. It can be really useful, Naruto said, showing Natsu the three-pronged kunai he was holding. In all truth, he could teleport Natsu and himself to the guild, he wanted to enjoy the time with his son. Natsu did the only thing he could think of in that moment. His sweat dropped. You lied to me, didn't you? Natsu asked Naruto, feeling stupid. Naruto nodded happily. Natsu's sweat dropped once again. Natsu sighed, but then grinned widely once again. Naruto smiled a small smile once again, and they walked in the guild. They walked towards the bar, where almost everyone was gathered. We're back, Natsu yelled, stealing the attention to himself. Everyone's eyes widened before they engulfed him in their circle. Naruto's sweat dropped at that. Naruto just closed his eyes and shook his head. Eventually, they noticed him too. Mary Jane was the first one to notice the difference. Naruto-san, did you lose your bandage? I believe we have another one here, Mary Jane offered, looking at Naruto. Everyone approached the blonde man that currently had his eyes closed. They looked closely at his face. Wait, you are not blind, are you? Erza asked, slapping her forehead. Naruto nodded, and opened his eyes. There was a gasp that escaped everybody. Naruto's eyes were ocean blue, with vertical slits instead of pupils. He smirked, and crossed his arms. Well, first of all, I know what all of you are thinking. You are thinking why I lied to you all, right? Naruto asked calmly. Everybody nodded, not trusting their voice. Well, I had my reasons to lie. Do not ask, I won't reveal them. At least, not yet, Naruto said finally. He flickered his eyes over to Gajil, and stared for long. Gajil also narrowed his eyes, but didn't make any movement. I feel like I should know something, Gajil thought, but he really couldn't put his finger on it. Excuse me, Naruto-san. Levy spoke up. Naruto diverted his eyes to the blue-haired mage. He raised an eyebrow. I wanted to ask, are your senses like an animal's? Levy asked, looking to the side. She was really embarrassed by asking that question, but her curiosity had gotten the better of her. Naruto was taken aback by that question. How did she know? He narrowed his eyes, and the other mages could have sworn that they saw them turn red for a moment. Yes, and that is how I was able to predict Erza-san's movements. In fact, all of the dragon slayers have the senses of a dragon, but mine are stronger, a lot stronger, Naruto revealed. No one spoke after that. How are your senses a lot stronger as you say it? Erza asked, eyes narrowed. As you already know, our dragons have left us in the year 777. Well, I'm the oldest dragon slayer in this guild, so I had more time with my dragon. He taught me things that other dragons didn't have time to teach. Naruto said. Again, there was a silence. Actually, with a little bit of training, I'm sure that no one in this guild would be able to beat Natsu, Gajil and Wendy. The powers of a dragon is far more greater than you think. Naruto said, a bit of anger in his voice. Natsu's face lit up. Finally, I found someone who can train me, Gajil and Wendy. I'm gonna defeat everybody. Thought Natsu, the excitement evident even on his thoughts. Gajil and Wendy had the same thoughts. Wendy's were a bit different. I will be able to prove myself, prove that I am not weak. Wendy thought, her eyes full with determination. Then tell me, Naruto-san, what was the name of the dragon that taught you? Erza asked, eyes narrowed once more. Naruto also narrowed his eyes and glared at her. Why do you want to know? Naruto asked. This only caused Erza's suspicion to grow more. Well, I want to know. Curiosity. Erza shot back, now also glaring. Maybe I'll tell you some other time. Naruto said finally. Erza sighed and gave up. This man was excessive, like a brick wall. You could take out more words out of a tree than him. Where were you with Natsu? Asked Lucy. Naruto looked towards her. We talked about training. Naruto said calmly. Lucy also gave up. It seemed like they would get nothing out of him. Naruto suddenly started to walk towards the bar. He pushed his way through and reached the bar, where Makarov stood. Can I talk to you? Naruto asked in a serious voice. Makarov, sensing that he meant business, also nodded seriously. Let's go to my office. Makarov said calmly, finishing his beer. Everybody watched them go towards the office of Makarov. Some people had the though to go and learn what they would talk about, but they didn't want to face an angry Makarov. They knew better than that, and that Naruto guy seemed hell of a strong, so they left it at that. No one even dared to approach the door to the office. If they only knew. When they finally entered the office, Makarov went and sat down on his chair behind the desk. Naruto took a chair and dragged it in front of Makarov, and sat down. They stared at each other for some time, before Makarov broke the silence. Who are you? Asked Makarov, narrowing his eyes. In truth, he had sensed his magical energy since he had entered the town, and it was huge. Even if he hid a great deal of it, he could still feel how big it was. The other members couldn't feel it. The ones that could probably feel it would be himself and maybe Gildarts. He wasn't sure. The others couldn't feel it because theirs was nothing compared to Naruto's. For them to feel it, he would probably need to lower it to an amount that rivaled theirs, which was impossible for Naruto because he had so much of it. I am not going to lie to you. I feel that I can trust you, and I will take that chance. Naruto said, closing his eyes and crossing his arms. Makarov only raised an eyebrow. Natsu already knows who you are. Who are you? Asked once more Makarov, already knowing that Natsu had something to do with this blonde man. I am Ignel. Naruto said. Makarov felt shock rush through him. His eyes widened, his mouth was hanging open. He couldn't believe it. He regained his composure and asked, once again narrowing his eyes, Are you telling me that you are a dragon? Why should I believe you? Makarov asked, his eyes narrowed. Naruto sighed, and held up his hand. In a second, his hand was engulfed in flames. Makarov's eyes once again widened. Naruto opened his eyes, which were blue with slits. Then they turned into red, Makarov noticed. He revealed the magic energy he was hiding, which caused Makarov to freeze. It was incredible. He suppressed his magic energy once more, giving Makarov the moment to breathe. Naruto calmed down, and blinked his eyes, which were now once again ocean blue. First, I want to tell you that the things you will now hear will be the first time a human has heard. And please, do not give away any of them. Naruto said politely. This Makarov was also a great man, he could feel it. Makarov once again regained his composure and nodded, eyes focused. Once upon a time, dragons were also humans. Humans with great burden. Not all of them, but a few were. Some of them just had a bad past, or just chose to become what they are now, dragons. I will tell how they became dragons some other time. I was a human sacrifice, what the humans in my time called Jinchuriki. A nine-tailed demon fox was sealed in me by my father, in order to protect his village. He sacrificed his soul, in order to seal it in me. His last request was me to be seen as a hero, but it didn't go like that. Naruto paused, letting the information sink. Then he continued. The people in the village didn't know I was the Yandame's son, although I don't think it would have made a difference if they knew, so they abused me, beat me every night, stabbed me with swords, knives and other stuff. After years, I graduated from the ninja academy, and I became a genin. I was put in a 4-man cell. 1 sensei, and 3 students. I had a crush on the girl that was in our team, but she always rejected me, hit me and told me how I was weak. After some time, I rescued the village from another Jinchuriki who unleashed the beast inside him, and made friends with him. He bore the one-tails. He was my true best friend. After that I brought back a woman to be the Godame Hokage, which is the leader of the village. But after that, the people there still despised me, so I went on a 3-year training with my true teacher, Jiraiya sensei. Since my so-called original sensei, Hatake Kakashi, only trained one student in our team, Sasuke Uchiha, saying that an Uchiha always deserved the best. Then Sasuke went rogue. Naruto explained, and once again, let the information sink in. Before I went to a 3-year training with my sensei, I went after Sasuke to get him back with some backup. I fought him in the Valley of the End, so that I could bring him back. In the end, I was stupid enough to draw back my attack and think that he would stop too, but he attacked me straight on. He left me to die and went to the most dangerous rogue nin in the history of the Leaf Orochimaru. When I was brought back to the village, the female on my team slapped me and told me that I was useless, since I couldn't bring back her Sasuke-kun. After that I went with Jiraiya-sensei to train, and returned after 3 years. Naruto paused at that, and took a deep breath once again. Then I rescued my friend Gaara, the holder of the One-Tails, from an organization called Akatsuki, who hunted the tailed beasts. The people of his village saw me as a hero, since I rescued their Kazekage, but the people of the Leaf still saw me as a demon. After that I learned that Jiraiya-sensei was killed in the hands of the Akatsuki leader Pain. I went to empty my Obokuzen to train so I could become a sage, just like Jiraiya-sensei. When I finished my training, I learned that Pain was attacking my village, searching for me. So I returned back and defeated the so-called god. Then the people started to see me as a hero. Sakura, the female on my team, finally told me that she had the same feelings for me. I was so happy. Then I brought back Sasuke, after a fierce battle. Naruto told Makarov, seeing the man listening so seriously. Then, he continued, but after I brought Sasuke back, Sakura abandoned me and went to him, didn't even look back. She said that she didn't want to be with a loser, that she had only played with him. Next I found out that a girl named Hinata had feelings for me, so I confessed to her. She said yes. After 9 months she abandoned me for a guy called Kiba, saying that she loved him. Next the one who approached me was a girl called Ino, telling me that she loved me. I just nodded. After 4 months she also threw me away and went to a guy called Shikamaru. That was all during the war with Madara, the real leader behind the scenes. Together with Killer Bee, the 8-Tails Jinchuriki, we fought. But in the end, I couldn't hold up anymore, my heart was shattered. My dream was to be the Rokudaime Hokage, but even that place went to Sasuke, the guy who had betrayed his village for power. I had saved them for God's sake, so many times, Naruto said the last part a bit angrily. Makarov's eyes softened. He mentioned for the blonde man to continue. After a year of war, I couldn't take it, and went straight ahead to face Madara. I had gained control of the Kyuubi inside of me, so I used its power, but it wasn't enough. In the end, Madara had beaten me, so I did the only thing left. I broke the seal and let the Kyuubi take control and destroy Madara, and she did. After a fierce battle, Madara was gone. Thanks to Kyuchan. She was the only one that cared for me. She even begged me not to break the seal, saying that I would die. I thanked her and let darkness engulf me. Kyuchan would give up, so she sacrificed her own life to save me, thus resulting for me to become a dragon. I hid myself, for a long time. Closed my heart. Then I met Natsu, he opened my heart once again, but then I was forced to leave him. Now here I am. Naruto finished, ignoring the tears in the corner of his eyes. Naruto still wouldn't forgive any of his so-called friends. They had betrayed him. Makarov was looking at Naruto with an unreadable expression. Well, I understand, Naruto. Don't worry about the past, it will go away. But now you have your son back and you will enjoy life. As your master, I order you to go and live, Makarov said, grinning. Naruto grinned also. This man reminded Naruto of Sandaime so much. The third had looked after him so much, he couldn't forget the man even if he wanted to. Okay, tell me where you want your mark to be, Makarov asked. Naruto lifted up his shirt, and showed the place where the seal was used to be. Makarov nodded, and put the mark with the color red. Naruto didn't know why he wanted the mark of Fairy Tail in that place, but it reminded him of Kyuubi. He shook Makarov's hand. Welcome to Fairy Tail, Naruto and Ignel, Makarov said, smiling. Naruto also smiled. Natsu already knows, so I would like to tell you this too. Please do not tell anybody that I am a dragon. Maybe I will tell them in the future, but not now, Naruto said. Makarov nodded respectively. He understood the situation. Naruto stood up, nodded in acknowledge and turned around to go. He entered the hall, and saw that it was chaos. Everybody stopped what they were doing after they saw the blue eyes with slits looking at them. Naruto smirked in amusement, and lifted his shirt. Mira Jane and Erza blushed at the sight, but then they noticed the Fairy Tail insignia. All of the members smiled. Welcome to Fairy Tail, was heard across Magnolia town. We are in a place filled with clouds, where a single dragon is looking upon the guild Fairy Tail. The white/yellow dragon stood up and stretched its wings. It glowed a green light before in its place stood a woman. I'm coming, Wendy, the woman said with a smile on her face. She stroked the picture of Wendy once again, and disappeared in a flash of light. In some unknown area, the place is covered with iron. The mountains, the grounds were all covered in iron. A black dragon stood up and glowed a black light. In the place of the enormous dragon now stood a man. I'm coming, Gajil. I'm coming, son, the man muttered, as he stroked the little dragon figure that was in his hand, which was made from iron, a gift from Gajil when he was little boy. He still remembered the day when Gajil gave it to him. Flashback. A little boy with black hair and red eyes ran towards a giant creature. It was a dragon. Daddy? The boy called the dragon. The mighty beast looked towards the little boy, who was holding up a little iron dragon. The dragon's eyes softened. What is this, Gajil? Asked the dragon gently. The little boy, named Gajil, smiled happily and answered, This is an iron dragon. It's very powerful, just like you, Daddy, said Gajil, his eyes filled with happiness. He was only 4 feet. The dragon took the little dragon figure gently, and stroked it gently, being careful with it. The mighty beast smiled, before his eyes diverted back to Gajil. Thank you, my son, Metalicana said, still smiling. It was a rare emotion for him. Happiness. This little boy was amazing. The little boy ran and hugged the enormous dragon's face, his little hands barely reaching any part of the dragon's face. Then the little boy muttered, I love you so much, Daddy. Don't leave me, okay? The little Gajil asked, the sadness evident in his voice. The dragon smiled once more and answered, I will never leave you, my son. That is a promise, said the dragon, before closing his eyes and enjoying his son's presence. Flashback end. The unknown man approached an iron stone and suddenly disappeared into it. The guild hall was bustling with movement, partying and of course, fighting. Naruto was sitting in the corner of the hall, not speaking or paying attention to the chaos in the hall. He was reading a small book. The cover was white, with some writings on it. It read, The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi. Honestly, Naruto didn't know how many times he read it now, but he simply didn't care. He never got bored of reading it. Never. It was the first book his now deceased sensei had written. The book was not sold. He had simply written it out of experience. Also, it was the reason that his parents had named him Naruto. Apparently, the main character in the story was named Naruto, so his father, Namikaze Minato, decided to give him the name of the character in the book. In all truth, Naruto was proud. Naruto was proud to have the name that his sensei had created. Ever since he had first read it, he was attached to the tale. As he said it to himself countless times, he had read the book countless times. Yet, every time he opened the book, he couldn't stop the excitement that came with it. It was like he was opening an entirely new book that no one had read, and he was the first one. Of course, with time the book got old. The original color of the book was orange. But now, it was white. It resembled how old the book was. The picture of his sensei at the last page surprisingly had maintained its color. Maybe his sensei and godfather had put a special seal. He didn't know. The book was the reason as to why was Natsu and Gray were approaching him. They reached him, and sat down in the chairs that were positioned, so that it looked against each other. Natsu was still sending Gray a heated glare, while Gray returned it with a cold one. It was a bit ironic actually, it represented their magic. Naruto chuckled at that, mentally of course. Hey Naruto, what are you doing? Asked Natsu, tapping his fingers on the desk, still glaring at Gray. I'm reading, Natsu. Naruto answered, not taking his eyes off the book. Gray and Natsu stared at him as if he was crazy. Why the hell are you reading? And why are you reading a book that looks like it's been thrown in a trash? Natsu asked, still staring at him as if he was crazy. Naruto sighed and answered, Natsu, I am reading to find out what happens in the story. As for your second question. First, I have read this book countless times. Second, it looks white because it's old, Naruto said, still reading. Natsu and Gray made an O shape with their mouths and fell into a deep silence. Finally, after 20 minutes, Natsu broke it. What did you mean by saying that you read it countless times? Natsu asked. Gray nodded as well, saying that he too wanted an answer for that question. Exactly what I said. I have read it so many times that I lost the count. Still, I never get bored of it, because Naruto trailed off. Natsu and Gray were really interested now. Does it mean something special to you? Gray asked. Naruto nodded. It was the first book ever written by my deceased sensei. Jiraiya sensei. Here, there is a picture of him here, Naruto said, opening the last page of the book and showing it to Natsu and Gray. They looked at the picture for long. They were both looking at the picture, and then at him, as if trying to find something in common. Why does he look a lot like you? Natsu asked, after a long time. Naruto raised an eyebrow. He was the sensei of my father, and he was mine. Actually, he was the one that named me. So that makes him my godfather. He was really like a father to me, Naruto said, smiling a bit. The book was the last thing Naruto had gotten from Jiraiya, if he didn't count the knowledge and his jutsu arsenal. He couldn't perform any of the jutsu, except the Rasengan, but he never used it. It reminded him of bad times. He didn't know why, but it just did. Then, Naruto got an idea. Natsu, how about you read this? Gray, if you want you can too. Naruto offered to them. They both stared at him as if he was crazy. Again, they both shook their heads. Naruto chuckled a bit. He remembered how he had felt when first Fukusaku had given it to him. Don't just refuse. I was like that the first time I was given it too. I was never a books person, but this book changed me. Give it a shot. Naruto said, closing the book and putting it on the desk. He then stood up and ruffled both of their hairs. Gray and Natsu still stared at the book. They slowly connected each other's gaze. Gray shrugged his shoulders, and Natsu nodded. Natsu slowly stood up from his seat, and took the small white book, which was once orange. Gray also stood up, and took a seat next to Natsu. Natsu opened the book, and stared at the first page. The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi, written by Jiraiya, the Toad Sannin, inspired from a battle, an experience. Natsu reached, and turned the page. Chapter 1. Natsu and Gray read the book slowly at first, and they weren't all that amazed. They didn't understand what Naruto had liked in this book, but their opinion changed greatly after they reached Chapter 3. Apparently, there was a guy that battled through all the battles, just to protect, and they went on, without even pausing. Word after word. Sentence after sentence. Page after page. Without realizing it, their eyes were wide, and mouths slightly apart. Naruto was walking to the training grounds, but before he exited the hall, he shot a last look at the boys. He smiled at the sight that greeted him. Natsu and Gray were so into the book, that they didn't even care about the chaos anymore. Naruto's smile grew. Unknown to him, it was the first full smile he had since the day of becoming a dragon. Maybe things were going to be different after this. Who is he to say? After some time, the chaos that was in the hall disappeared. Everyone stopped what they were doing, and a not-so-normal silence fell over. It was definitely not normal. Something was out of place. There was no shouting, swearing and fighting. No one seemed to figure out why, so everyone settled to find out the reason of this boredom. Everyone was thinking. The whole guild was silent. Finally, after an hour, someone managed to figure it out. Where are Natsu and Gray? Asked a confused Wendy. Carla too realized it, and nodded. Gajil and Panther Lily realized it too, and they started to look around. Erza realized it too, so she started to search too. There they are, Erza said, pointing to the corner of the room. All of the members diverted their eyes to the pointed location. They approached Natsu and Gray slowly. What are you doing? Asked Elfman. Natsu and Gray didn't notice them. Hello? Lucy tried this time. Still no reaction. Natsu! Gray! Erza yelled, as if they were fighting again. Still no reaction. Everyone's sweat dropped at this. Erza got angry, and lifted her hand to slap their heads, but stopped once she realized what they were doing. You are reading? The Titania asked, confused. Natsu and Gray turned their heads at them, and put their index fingers on their lips. SHHHH. Be quiet, damn it. Natsu muttered, and returned back to the book. All the jaws that were in place dropped to the floor. They were reading? There were various reactions from the members. Holy shit, what the fuck? Is the world coming to an end? I can't believe this. Shouts like these were heard across Magnolia town. Everyone scattered, and went to their places, still sending very, very confused stares at the fire and ice duo. Since when did Natsu and Gray started to read? Asked Erza. Lucy and Wendy just shrugged, still staring oddly at Natsu and Gray. It was 8 p.m. Everyone was chatting, or already going to their places. The corner was still occupied by Natsu and Gray, which were currently still reading the book that Naruto had given to them. Natsu and Gray read in silence. Finally, they reached the last page. There was the picture of Jiraiya, the Toad Sannin, and information about him under the picture. Natsu closed the book, set it down and brushed off the small tears that were gathering at the corners of his eyes with the back of his hand. Gray did the same. The book was really awesome. It was really emotional too. Now I understand why Naruto treasured this for so long. Natsu said, nodding to himself. Me too. The story is amazing. Gray said, also nodding to himself. They sat in silence for a couple of minutes, then Natsu asked, Did you notice something? Natsu asked Gray. Gray nodded. The character. Its name was Naruto. Gray said. The pink-haired boy nodded, and rubbed his chin. Let's go and ask Naruto about that. Natsu offered. The black-haired boy nodded, and stood up. Natsu also stood up, and they made their way towards the doors. After they bid farewell to everyone, which were sending them odd looks, they exited the guild building. Finding Naruto was rather hard for Gray and Natsu. They didn't even know where he was. And they couldn't sense his magic energy, which was weird. After a while, they asked around if they had seen someone with bright blonde hair and a white coat. They said that he was near the Sakura tree. Of course. The Sakura tree. So Natsu and Gray ran to the Sakura tree, the book still in the pink-haired boy's hand. They found Naruto sitting on a bench, looking at the Sakura tree, and holding a very small cup. They started to approach him. Naruto looked at the tree some more, then drank the sake that was in his hand and set the cup down. He felt how the sake burned his throat. It felt good. He had sensed Gray and Natsu from the very moment when they exited the guild. Although, he didn't know why did they search him. Hey Naruto, we wanted to ask you something. Gray started. Natsu nodded and held up the book. Why is the character's name Naruto? Asked Natsu curiously. Naruto raised an eyebrow. As I said, Jiraiya-sensei was my godfather. He was the one who named me. Actually, my dad chose the name Naruto from this book. Jiraiya-sensei had been very happy at that time, proud too. I am proud too, proud to bear the name that my sensei created," Naruto said, smiling a small smile. Natsu and Gray made an O shape with their mouths. They sat down near him, and watched the sakura tree in silence. It was then they started to ask questions. "Naruto, have you ever loved someone?" Natsu asked, looking at the tree. Naruto's eyes immediately darkened, but this went unnoticed. He filled his cup of sake once more and brought it to his lips. He nodded. "What do you do if you love someone so much, but you can't tell her?" Natsu asked, still looking at the sakura tree. Naruto sighed. It was night, so the sakura petals enlightened the park. There were a few light resources. It was a magnificent sight to behold. "What about you, Gray? Do you love someone?" asked Naruto, the sake cup now resting on his hand. Gray blushed, and looked away, Juvia coming to his mind. Hesitantly he nodded. Naruto sighed again. "I have loved someone. I have loved her so much." Naruto trailed off. Natsu's interest perked up. "What was her name?" asked Natsu. Naruto sighed once again. "Natsu, Gray. I am sorry, but I don't want to talk about that," Naruto said, fixing his eyes so that they once again stared at the tree. Natsu and Gray nodded, understanding the situation. The rest of the night went like that. Naruto not moving his gaze away from the tree. Natsu and Gray were also staring at the tree, but they were thinking about the women they loved. It was really hard. And Naruto had refused to talk too. As Naruto stared at the sakura tree, a memory came to his mind. Flashback. The fire dragon, the mighty Ignel, was laying on a clear land, wings down, tail also resting. The place was devoid of any human life. It was his favorite spot for thinking, relaxing and occupying himself. Then suddenly, from the trees came a running little boy, wearing yellow shorts and no shirt. Ignel opened his blue-slit eyes, glaring at the newcomer. He was surprised when the newcomer was no other than a 4-year-old boy. What was a human doing out here? It was running fast. He tripped over and fell. The boy rubbed his hair, which had pink hair. Seriously? Pink hair? Ignel thought to himself, not betraying any emotion. Emotion. Such a funny word, to him at least. He hadn't displayed any emotion since he became what he was now. The little pink-haired boy stood up, still rubbing his head. He started to look around, only to spot a huge lizard-like creature with wings. His eyes widened. Ignel stood up and stretched his wings. The area was suddenly filled with an aura of great power. The little Natsu thought that the area that was so big, now became so small. He was frightened at the sight of the amazing beast, but at the same time he was curious. Ignel took a step forward, shaking the ground, making the little pink-haired boy fall on his rear. He snorted. "Who are you?" asked Ignel, his voice radiating off power. Natsu once again stood up, and his eyes glittered with curiosity. "I am Natsu," muttered weakly the little kid. Ignel grunted again. "I'm Ignel," said the dragon, as he once again laid down, his nose coming near the little boy. The little boy stared at his eyes. "You have pretty eyes," complimented Natsu, grinning. The fear that was in his eyes was now gone. Ignel's eyes grew wide, but it disappeared in the next second. No one had complimented him since a millennium ago. As he thought about it, he didn't remember many people who had complimented him at all. "Thank you, Natsu." "So why are you here?" asked Ignel. Natsu looked down at the ground. "I ran away from the orphanage. I didn't like it there, because the adults there didn't like me," mumbled the little boy. Ignel's eyes softened, a thing that they had not become since a very long time. The kid was like him, in a way at least. "I want to be strong, I want to be able to fight," Natsu mumbled. Ignel's eyes became hard once again. "Then I shall grant your wish," Ignel said. The little boy's head whipped up and stared at the dragon with hope in his eyes. "I shall teach you the way of the dragon," Ignel said. He honestly didn't know why he had just said that, but he wasn't going to let that kid be helpless, not anymore. Ignel wasn't going to let someone else suffer the same fate as him. From that day on, Natsu's life would never be the same. Flashback end. Naruto smiled at the memory, and glanced at the now sleeping boy. Natsu had laid his head on his shoulder. Naruto noticed that Gray was gone. He only shook his head. Naruto ruffled Natsu's hair, before picking the boy up. He disappeared in a swirl of flames. Naruto appeared in Lucy's bedroom. Natsu had told him that he slept in Lucy's place. Luckily, Lucy had just entered her bathroom, only with a towel wrapped around her. "Kya! What are you doing here?" she screamed and tried to cover herself with the towel. Naruto only raised an eyebrow, but didn't say anything else. He gently put Natsu on the bed. "I came to bring Natsu here," Naruto said, still looking at Natsu. Lucy nodded, her face still red. "Thank you, Lucy-san," Naruto said. Lucy nodded, and turned to close the door. When she turned around, Naruto was already gone. "Sorry people, but there will be no Naruto's Lucy in this story. Maybe I'll write another FIC with Naruto's Lucy if you guys want, just put some reviews for it or PM me." Laughing face. She was confused at first, but then she sighed. She quickly put her undergarments and her pajamas. She pushed Natsu to the corner of the bed and she laid down herself. Her last thoughts before she entered the land of dreams was, "He is weird." Definitely. Once again, Like every other day, it was a normal day in Fairy Tail. But this time there was no fighting. Everyone was sitting at their respective places, and were talking to others. Naruto was once again in the corner, his eyes closed, the tri-pronged kunai twirling between his fingers, but his mind was elsewhere. He was thinking about going on a mission. Or he could train Natsu. Both were good ideas. Why not do both? Naruto asked himself mentally. He stood up from his chair, and walked towards Natsu, who was alone. Apparently, Happy and Carla decided to go somewhere to kill the time, so Natsu was alone. Gray and Erza were on missions. Hey Natsu, would you like to join me for a mission? Naruto asked, ruffling Natsu's unnatural pink hair. Said boy's eyes immediately fired up, and he stood up from his seat. I'm all fired up. Natsu yelled at the top of his lungs. Naruto only chuckled. The blonde made his way towards the bar, where Mira was. Hey Mira-san. Naruto greeted. Mira-Jane turned around and smiled at him kindly. I was wondering if you have a good mission for me and Natsu, said Naruto, chuckling. Mira smiled, and pointed the mission board. Naruto looked at the point she was showing, and nodded. The dragon made his way towards the mission board, Natsu beside him. He checked out the board, and picked up a random one. Get rid of the bandits that call themselves cancer, huh? Thought Naruto to himself, pondering on whether he should take it or not. The reward was a good one too. Alright Natsu. It looks like we are going to kick some ass, Naruto said to the pink-haired boy. Natsu's face broke into a huge grin, and he punched his fists together. Let's go, Natsu said, taking off. Naruto chuckled slightly, shook his head and followed him. Naruto and Natsu were traveling for 4 hours by now. They were heading towards Tanzaka town. I know that it's from the Naruto verse, but I just couldn't think up a name for a town. Too lazy, laughing face. Hey Ignel, are you going to train me? Asked Natsu excitedly. Naruto nodded, looking at the pink-haired boy through the corner of his eyes with a smirk. Natsu's excitement was almost going to explode. Ignel was going to be his teacher once again. Being his father was added as a bonus. Hey Ignel, how old are you? Natsu asked out of the blue. Naruto stopped, feeling, shall we say, not good. Where did that come from? Naruto asked, looking away. This action only caused Natsu's curiosity to grow more. Well, you never told me your age, so I just want to know. The pink-haired boy answered. Naruto sighed. Honestly, I don't know. Naruto said, looking to the sky, a sigh escaping his lips. Natsu's eyebrows furrowed. What do you mean you don't know? Everybody knows his age, right? Natsu asked uncertainly. Natsu, I have lived too long. I don't remember how old I am. But if you ask me how old I am in this body, the one that I am currently in, I am 38, Naruto said, looking at the boy. The Dragon Slayer's jaw dropped to the floor, eyes were wide open with shock. 38? Are you serious? Shouted Natsu, still in shock. Naruto only nodded, amusement visible in his face. Gajil was pissed. No, he was beyond pissed. I mean, come on. What the fuck was he doing in a library? Oh yeah, he was dragged here by a blue-haired bookworm. The girl was so energetic that even he couldn't keep up with her. Gajil pinched the bridge of his nose, cursing himself for letting her drag him. Hey Gajil, can you help me a bit? Levy asked. Gajil turned to the direction of the voice, and his eyes bulged out. There was Levy in a ladder, trying to reach up to the last shelf for a simple book. She was desperately trying to reach the book by raising her hands, and standing on her toes. She wore some kind of tight jeans, hugging her rear. And you can better believe Gajil that when he said they were tight, they were. When there came no response from Gajil, Levy turned around and saw him looking at her. Looking at her butt to be exact, which was hugged by some very tight jeans. Then she noticed a little amount of blood leaking from his nose. Her face flushed, and she desperately tried to turn around. This caused the ladder to shake, and her to fall. Levy closed her eyes, waiting for the pain, but nothing came. Instead, she felt strong hands holding her, and something hard. She pressed her hands against the hard thing, wondering what it was. When she opened her eyes, she came to face with her hands rubbing the rock-hard chest of Gajil. Enjoying yourself? Gajil asked, a smirk on his face. Levy's face flushed, before she also smirked. Yeah, I do. Just like you did several moments ago, looking at me. Levy said. Gajil's smirk faded and was replaced very red face. Levy giggled. Naruto sighed. Natsu and him were currently surrounded by a bunch of bandits, who were holding some weak swords. It wasn't even a challenge. Natsu, how about I see you kick their asses? Maybe I can see how much you have improved. Naruto said, a glint in his eyes. Natsu immediately grinned, and his fists were engulfed in flames. I'm all fired up. Natsu shouted, and charged forward. The bandits never stood a chance. One by one, Natsu hit them all effortlessly. But he made a deadly mistake by underestimating them all. One of them, someone dressed in all black, came up behind Natsu and raised the knife he was holding. Natsu turned around, but it was already too late. Just as the knife was coming down, something hit the assassin in the stomach, causing him to fly away a good distance. Natsu could make out some flames from the body before it flew away. The pink-haired boy turned to his companion, and flinched under his glare. Naruto was not angry. He wasn't. He was just disturbed that Natsu had underestimated his enemies too much. Why weren't you careful? Asked Naruto, feeling irritated. Natsu just rubbed the back of his head. Naruto only sighed. Hey Ignel, what was that move you used just now? Natsu's curiosity was perked when he laid his eyes on Naruto's hand that was currently emitting smoke. The blonde raised an eyebrow and looked at his hand. His eyes widened a fraction. No, how could he have used that move? He was sure that he had agreed with himself to never use it again. Yeah, he had just used the Rasengan, but it wasn't his original Rasengan. This one was made by magic. He thought for a while, then opened his palm, holding it in front of him. Natsu just stared at Naruto's hand, expecting something to happen. After several minutes, he wasn't disappointed. In Naruto's palm started to gather small flames, until the flames took the form of a spinning ball. The ball was spitting fire in every direction, making it look like some kind of a vortex. Just as he was going to ask how Naruto had done that, something stopped him. Naruto's eyes were wide, and he was staring at the ball with some kind of emotion he couldn't make out. I can't believe it, Naruto muttered to himself, but cursed when he realized that Natsu had heard him because of his high senses. Wow, Ignel! How are you doing that? Natsu asked, staring at the spinning ball. Naruto focused some more magic into the ball, until it grew to the size of a basketball. The blue-eyed man disappeared, appeared next to a tree and struck the ball to the tree. The tree never stood a chance. So didn't the other 20 trees behind it. Natsu could only gape. Oh yeah, he was definitely going to learn that thing, whatever the hell it was. The Dragon Slayer ran to Naruto and pleaded. Ignel, please teach me that. Natsu said, hands clasped together. Naruto turned to look at Natsu, his eyes blank. He shook his head, and disappeared without a trace. Natsu's face was full of confusion, and when Naruto disappeared, he started to look around rapidly for him. Natsu still sensed Naruto's magic energy, so he started to run towards that direction. He would find out the reason, just so he could figure out a way to help Ignel. Naruto sat on a cliff, looking out to Tanzaku town. In his hand was a necklace that held a green diamond. The only thing that was left from some of his precious people. He still despised the Rookie 12, because they had all betrayed him and thought he was the Kyuubi, which he then learned that his name was actually Kurama. He only called him Kyuchan to annoy him. Tsunade was one of the few who had still trusted him, supported him, and protected him. She was like the mother he never had. Jiraiya was his sensei and godfather. Despite being his godfather and sensei, Naruto also thought him as the father he never had. Jiraiya was killed by pain, and Tsunade was killed by sacrificing herself for him. They were both his family. He didn't want to use the Rasengan, because it was the technique that had put an end to the war. He had killed many by the move and he felt disgusted with himself after that. Sure, Madara was the bad guy, but who could blame him? His brother was killed after willingly giving his eyes to his big brother, and his clan had betrayed him. He just couldn't be angry at the man. He was brought out of his musings when he heard his name called. He turned around to see Natsu, hands on his knees and panting. He sighed. Ignel, teach me that please. Natsu pleaded once again. Naruto sighed, and stood up. All right. Natsu's face immediately broke into a huge shit-eating grin. Now then, are you ready? Naruto asked, smirking. Natsu shuddered at the smirk, and couldn't stop the bad feeling growing inside of him. He nodded, unsure somewhat. Naruto's smirk only grew wider. Actually, it's pretty easy. You take your magic, and try to rotate it in your hand. Naruto said, creating one magic Rasengan in his hand. What? But that is impossible. Only magic can't be used like that. We can't control it that good. Natsu complained. Naruto's smirk, if possible, grew even more. Maybe others can't, but you can. Remember, you are a dragon slayer. Naruto said. Natsu thought about it for a while, then he grinned. I'm all fired up. Natsu shouted as he opened his palm in front of himself. Naruto looked closely at him. Slowly, some flames could be made out in Natsu's palm, but when it reached the width of a golf ball, it exploded, caused a small smoke. Natsu only gaped at it, and tried again, only to fail again. It seemed like he wasn't giving up. Naruto couldn't give him a balloon, or a rubber ball. The balloon would explode and the rubber would be reduced to nothing. The flames of a dragon were too great. Natsu had to complete it himself, which was no small feat. Naruto had done it completely out of instinct, so it was easy for him. Naruto turned around, and walked away, leaving Natsu trying to figure out how to control the thing. It was night. The wind was brushing against the leaves of the wild trees, making a low, soothing sound. A lone silhouette could be seen if looked close enough. The figure's steps were soundless. After a while of walking in the wild forest, the man came to a clearing. He was around 6.1 feet. The moonlight shone upon him, revealing his entire figure and facade. The man had wild, spiky red hair, emerald eyes, pale skin, and a well-kept body. He wore full-length dark trousers, white button-up shirt, black standard, shinobi, sandals, and a long-sleeved crimson coat that was open, revealing his white shirt. Around his neck was a white/gray scarf that was flowing softly with the wind. You should have guessed who this is by now, but he doesn't have black markings under his eyes. I'm almost there, the figure said calmly, continuing to walk. After a minute or so of walking, the trees cleared, and revealed Magnolia Town. Once again, like every day, the sun shone upon Magnolia Town. And once again, like every day, the Fairy Tale Guild was full of life. This time, however, there was no fighting. Everyone was chatting, minding their own business. Gajil was sitting at his table, Panther Lily at his side. Just as he was about to bring the beer cup to his mouth, he stopped. He felt something. A magic energy, just like his own. His eyes narrowed, and he stood up. Wait here, Gajil said to Lily, ignoring the protests that came back. He started to run out of the guild, gaining curious glances from the members, but he ignored them. He continued to run, until he was out of Magnolia Town. He entered the forest, and started to walk. After some minutes he stopped. His eyes were narrowed, looking forward, searching for something. After another minute, a figure emerged from the trees. The figure had spiky, unkempt wild red hair, green/blue eyes, pale skin, a white button-up shirt, full-length dark trousers, black sandals, and a long-sleeved red coat. And around his neck was a white scarf. He was around 6.1 feet. The man stopped when he came close to Gajil, his face blank. Gajil's hand twitched, ready to attack. Who are you? Asked Gajil, studying the man. He felt some kind of a connection to the man, but the one thing that bugged him was that the man's magic energy was a dragon's, just like his own, but much, much stronger. The man looked straight in his eyes, not flinching. Then he said one word that made him go crazy. Metalicana. Gajil exploded. He flew forward, his arm already in the shape of a metal sword. The man ducked, letting the sword pass him harmlessly. Just as the blade flew the man's head, Gajil swung his leg, attempting to kick the man in the chin. The red-haired man this time moved his head to the left, dodging the kick. As Gajil landed, he clenched his teeth. He drew back his arm, and swung it forward while he yelled, Iron Dragon's Club! His arm turned into an iron club, extending and going straight towards the man. What happened next shocked Gajil. The man just raised his hand, and let the club hit it. The ground beneath him cracked, making spiderweb-like crater in the ground. This cannot hurt me, he muttered slowly, not caring that he was holding back Gajil's attack. Gajil's red eyes burned with fury, and he prepared for his next attack. He roared, extended his left arm back, and punched forward. A green dragon slayer's magic seal appeared before his arm, and then his arm transformed into a large spearhead. Then, a very large number of steel spears were sent towards his enemy. Only a very quiet tch was all Gajil heard, before the man threw his head back a little, put his hands in front of his mouth, and roared. Roar! Yelled the so-called Metalicana. The same roar just like his one flew towards him, completely annihilating his spears. This roar was almost times stronger than his one. In the last minute, Gajil jumped aside, letting the tornado of iron pass him, and annihilate a very large section of the trees. He could only stare in shock at the damage done. That roar was definitely stronger than his. He once again turned towards the man, asking the previous question. Who are you? Gajil asked, his eyes narrowed. Who am I? I think you already know who I am, the unknown man said, putting his hand in his pocket. Gajil instinctively took a defending stance, readying himself for whatever attack that was to come. It never came. He only pulled a little dragon doll from his pocket, holding it in his hands. Gajil's eyes widened, his fists were clenched. How do you have that? Gajil roared, demanding an answer. The man only raised an eyebrow, not answering. Asin were me, yelled Gajil once again, flying forward. It was given to me by my son, the man said, his eyes softening. Gajil stopped, recognizing these eyes. For a minute his brain stopped working. Could it be? After so many years? But it was impossible. Metalicana was gone. How could it be true? Gajil looked more closely to the iron dragon figure, recognizing it immediately. His eyes widened, emotions swirling in them, emotions that he thought he had long lost. You bastard! Gajil yelled, punching the man in the face. It only made the man turn his face to the side, not affected by the punch. You think you can just come back? After all these years? Just like that? Gajil was demanding some answers, not waiting for them. He lunged forward. Gaara caught him, embracing him. Gajil's eyes widened, shock filling them. His mind processed what was just happening. He growled, and pushed the man backwards. Who the fuck are you? Asked Metalicana once again, wild emotions running wild in his eyes. Gaara's eyes just softened even more. It's me, Gajil. Metalicana. Gaara said, walking forward and embracing the boy. No, the man in front of him. Gaara was a bit higher than him, so he wrapped his arms around his back and closed his eyes. He felt something on his cheek, and he knew that it was some tears that leaked. Gaara's eyes softened. It's okay to cry for happiness, Gajil, Gaara said. Gajil sighed. There he was, muttering wise and stupid words. It was Metalicana, all right. After another minute, Gajil pushed Gajil back, standing up. He sniffed, and dried his eyes with his wrist. He didn't know how adorable he was right now. Aw, cute. were the only thoughts of Gaara as he gazed upon Gajil. A sly smirk formed on the pale feature. "Oh, is Gajil-chan crying?" Gaara asked mockingly, leaning against a tree. "Shut the fuck up!" Gajil yelled, visible thick nerves on his forehead. Gaara smiled slowly, picking up the dragon figure and dusting it off. Gajil looked at it, remembering the time when he gave it to his father. "You kept that?" Gajil asked, crossing his arms and looking to the side. Gaara gazed at him flatly, before securing it in his pocket. Gajil sat on the ground, crossing his arms. Gaara smirked, before walking near him and sitting close. "Why did you leave Metalicana? Was I a burden to you?" Gajil muttered, looking to the ground. Gaara's eyes widened a fraction, before they returned to normal. "No. You were never a burden to me. Never. You were the most precious thing to me. I would give my life for you, Gajil. I didn't leave because I wanted to. I was forced," Gaara said, looking at him. Gajil looked at his father and smiled. He sighed in relief. "That's good. I always thought that you left because you hated me," Gajil said, his face hidden by his wild black hair. Gaara only smiled. "You'll never leave again, right?" Gajil asked once again, wanting to be sure that his father was not going to leave. Gaara smiled, a wide smile. He then ruffled Gajil's jet black hair and spoke. "I promise. I will never leave you again. Never," Gaara said, speaking his heart. Gajil, again in a very long time, smiled. A true smile. Natsu was panting, laying on the ground. The clearing was emitting smokes. The trees were all blown up, small craters on them. And on Natsu's face was a big grin. "I did it. I finally managed it," Natsu said to himself, looking at his hand. After some seconds, a blue/red/yellow orb started to form. It was emitting fire in all directions, making it look like a vortex. "Ignel will be surprised that I got it that quickly," Natsu said to himself excitedly. He stood up and thrust the orb to the ground. The ground cracked, creating a huge crater. He grinned once again, throwing his fist to the air. Yes, the whole forest shook with one yell. "Oh, make an idea from a reviewer. Natsu, Gray, come here for a second." Naruto called across the guild hall. The two energy balls walked towards him and raised eyebrows. Naruto took out an orange book from his pocket and held it to them. "What is this?" asked Gray, taking the book. Natsu also got curious and looked at the title. "Just a book that my sensei used to write." Naruto answered calmly and walked away. The title said Ika Paradise, so Gray and Natsu opened the book and read it. They read it to the 6th page before their noses were bleeding, and there was a bulge in their pants. Suddenly they giggled like a pervert. Erza raised an eyebrow at the antics of the two, and took the book from their hands. She looked at the page, before her face turned her different shades of red. It was amusing to watch. "Oh shit, run, Natsu! Gray! Come back here! I'm going to kill you! Naruto! I'm going to kill you too!" Somewhere else, Naruto suddenly stopped and sneezed. He rubbed his chin in thought. "Someone must be thinking about me." He shrugged and continued his way. "Phew! That took me a long time. I just didn't have any ideas." Blood. Cries of agony. Cries for help. Cries for mercy. That was all Naruto was seeing and hearing right now, as he was in the battlefield. The Fourth Great Shinobi War. It was all started by this Tobi person. At first, he wasn't taken seriously by the nations or the Akatsuki members, because he acted like a fool and disguised his true personality. After time, he revealed himself and said that he was Madara Uchiha. Of course, after seeing his Sharingan, everybody believed him, and then they saw the original Madara, raised from the death by Kabuto, by using impure world resurrection. Edo Tensei. After that, everyone was once again confused. They didn't know who this Tobi was. Right now, Naruto is returning from yet another battle to his home. The war would continue tomorrow. Once he reached the camp, he greeted the guards, who in return bowed to him. He was well now, having defeated the leader of the Akatsuki, and being the pupil of the Toad Sage made him well known. He greeted the ninjas as he walked towards his tent. He headed to the shinobi shop, and ordered some ink. Being a seal master had its advantages. He could destroy hundreds of enemies with just one seal, or capture some enemies for interrogation. After he got what he needed, he exited the shop and started to walk towards his tent, ready to get some rest and then fight again. In his way, he saw some medicnines running with supplies in their hands, and prayed to whoever was up there to help whoever was wounded. Naruto entered his tent, took off his gear and flashed some water to his face. He rubbed his neck, stretched his shoulders and sighed in pleasure when he heard a small crack. His ears perked up when he heard someone enter his tent. He immediately recognized the person's chakra, and his eyes became emotionless. "Why was he here? What do you want?" Naruto asked, turning around, his eyes cold as ice. He was greeted by the one and only Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke's eyes found their way to the ground. He couldn't look on Naruto's face. He was ashamed to do it. Ever since Sakura ran to him, Naruto started to act cold towards all the rookie 12. Of course, it was Sakura who had ran to him, but he was guilty as well. He didn't push her back, he just greeted her with open arms. He had embraced her, kissed her, and then he felt someone's eyes on them. He didn't even have to look to know whose eyes they were. I just wanted to check if you are okay. Sakura is worried about you, Sasuke said, gulping the guilt that rose within him. Naruto walked towards the bed, and sat on it. I'm fine. I don't need your pity. I don't want her worry either, tell her to keep it for you, Naruto said, his voice like a blizzard in the winter. Sasuke cringed at the tone. Naruto, don't say that. You know that she cares about you, Sasuke said, his fists closing. He immediately regretted what he had said. Naruto shot up from the bed and grabbed his shirt. His eyes were slit, just like an animal's. Sasuke could see the burning fury in them. Yeah, I know how much she cares about me. Honestly, I don't give a fuck about her. For all I care, she can die and I won't even lift a finger. That was the last straw for Sasuke. Sasuke slapped away the hand that was holding his shirt, and punched Naruto in the face. Naruto skidded back a few meters, before he flew forward, punching him back in the gut. Sasuke returned it with a spin kick, aiming for Naruto's head. He ducked, letting the kick fly past his head. Naruto disappeared, appeared next to his katana, grabbed it, disappeared again and appeared behind Sasuke and flung his sword, aiming for the waist. Sasuke reacted quickly, drawing his own and blocking it. Sparks scattered to all directions, letting Sasuke know the force behind the swing. What the hell is wrong with you? Sasuke snapped, growing irritated. Naruto didn't answer, instead he kicked him in the chest, sending him flying out of the tent. Sasuke hit a boulder, coming to a halt. He quickly stood up, and put his word to his left side, blocking the swing that would have cut him in half if it had hit. Black bled into red, and Sasuke revealed his final level Sharingan. Naruto's eyes bled into gray and silver, black rings appeared around his eyes. His Rinnegan revealed itself. He pushed his sword and replaced himself with a log before appearing a few meters away from Naruto. He stabbed Kusanagi in the ground, and revealed his eternal mangekyou Sharingan. He closed his eyes, and readied himself for Amaterasu. As for Naruto, he held his hand palm open towards Sasuke. Amat, Shinrate, stop! Please stop! Someone yelled, and both eternal mangekyou Sharingan and Rinnegan retreated back, taking their powers with them. Sasuke's eyes grew wide a fraction, but then they relaxed. Naruto's turned even colder. Naruto took his sword, and without a word, turned around and started to walk away. He didn't pay any attention to the pink blur that went past him, towards the Uchiha. He stopped, turned around and saw them both. His previous teammates. Was it okay to hate them? He didn't know. But he just did. Sakura was holding her hand on Sasuke's chest, a green light emitting from her hand. A healing jutsu, surely. Naruto gritted his teeth in anger, his chest burning with jealousy, and turned around to walk back to his tent. Naruto! Wait! Sakura called, standing up. Naruto just continued to walk, not paying her any attention. She started to run towards him, and touched his shoulder lightly. Naruto, let me heal yo. She was cut short when Naruto grabbed her hand and threw it away from his shoulder. He turned his head around, and cold Rinnegan enchanted eyes greeted her. I don't need your help, go heal your boyfriend, Naruto said, his anger visible in his eyes. Naruto, please, don't say that, Sakura pleaded. Naruto this time turned fully around, meeting her gaze. Sakura took a step back, scared by his anger. Then what should I say? What do you want me to say? The last word was a roar. Naruto turned around and disappeared in a yellow flash, leaving a half-burned cherry petal. Sakura's eyes filled with tears as she gazed upon the petal. She turned around to help her lover. Naruto lay in his bed, thinking about what happened. He closed his eyes, and couldn't stop the lonely tear that escaped them. Great. My so-called friends see me as the Kyuubi and now all that. My life is just great. A sarcastic thought crossed his mind. Sensei, what would you have done if you were in my place? Naruto asked to no one in particular. He was met with silence. Naruto opened his eyes and was greeted by sunlight. Great, he had fallen asleep. He stood up and took his coat from the ground and put it on. He closed his eyes and tried to sense Natsu's magic energy. It was not far. The blonde calmly walked towards his destination, and whistled when he reached it. The trees were utterly destroyed, and there were craters on the ground. It seemed like Natsu had gotten the hang of it. He chuckled when he saw Natsu panting on the ground. He walked towards him and clapped a few times. Natsu's eyes opened and readjusted to the sunlight, before he grinned at seeing Ignel. Hey Naruto, I did it! Natsu yelled, and stood up. Naruto smiled and ruffled the pink hair. Then, his face turned serious. Let me see it, Naruto demanded. Natsu knew that tone. It was a demand. His face also turned into a serious one, as he opened his palm, and created the flame ball. Naruto inspected it, before nodding. Now do it with your other hand, Naruto said, taking a few steps back. Natsu nodded, released the one already in his hand, and created the same on in his other hand. Now do it with both hands, Naruto ordered. Natsu's face turned into one of a confusion. Where was Ignel going with this? Whatever, he did as he was told. Now he had spinning fire vortexes in both hands, sending flames into every direction. You know what to do, the older one ordered calmly. Natsu's eyebrows disappeared into his hair, and then his eyes widened a bit. He then grinned. Natsu drew both of his arms back, and started to run towards Ignel. Naruto merely smirked. He also drew his hands back, 2 blue Rasengans forming in each. Natsu's grin got even wider. As Natsu reached Naruto, he named his attack, Fire Barrier. Naruto returned it with his own, Rasengan. Red crashed into blue. A massive explosion was made, dust rose from the ground. When the smoke cleared, Naruto was standing, not even scratched. Natsu was laid on the ground. He was panting heavily, but on his face was a huge grin. Naruto only chuckled. That actually tingled. Naruto said, chuckling. Natsu only rubbed the back of his neck. Naruto picked Natsu up, and gave him a piggyback ride. Natsu leaned his head on Naruto's shoulder, and sighed. You did well, son. Naruto said proudly. Natsu's smile grew wider. Naruto and Natsu walked calmly towards Magnolia town, having received the reward from the mission. Natsu had a shit-eating grin on his face. Naruto had a grin of his own. Just as they reached the gates, Naruto stopped. Natsu noticed, and he also stopped. What's wrong? Natsu asked. Why did Ignel stop so suddenly? That magic energy, it's as strong as mine. Naruto thought, looking towards the woods. Then he smirked. Without a word to Natsu, he took off running in the direction of the energy. Natsu yelled behind him, and also followed. When Naruto reached his destination, his eyes grew wide. There stood Gaara, a smirk on his face, and Gajil next to him. Gajil's face was that of a confusion when he saw him, and it only increased when Natsu came too. The music that goes with this part, fairy tale, dragon slayer theme. Natsu heard a low growl come from Naruto, when he was suddenly covered in flames. Gaara's smirk instantly disappeared. Naruto drew his head back, his cheeks puffed out, and he put his hands in front of his mouth. Gaara did the same, preparing his own attack. Roar! Both Naruto and Gaara yelled. The result was unimaginable. 2 giant tornadoes clashed. One made of flame, the other from iron dust. It was overwhelming. Natsu and Gajil were thrown back by the force. The area was completely destroyed. But it wasn't over. It wasn't. As the smoke cleared, both were standing, not even winded. Naruto lunged forward, his entire body covered in flames. Gaara lunged forward too, and drew his arm back, the arm turning into an iron club. Naruto drew his arm back too. Fire Fist. Iron Club. As the attacks clashed, once again there was a giant smoke. Dust rose from the ground, gulping everything. Gajil and Natsu could only watch in shock. This power was so much stronger than their own, so that as Ignel's/Metalicana's power were the only thoughts of the 2 dragon slayers. The song that goes with this part, Fairy Tale OST Kaneshiki Keiko/Past Story. And when the dust cleared, there stood Gaara and Naruto, fists still intact. Both fists were contacted, no flames or iron visible on them. Then suddenly, a low chuckle emerged from Naruto's throat. Gaara started to chuckle lightly. After a second, both of them burst out laughing. They laughed so hard that they had to hold their sides. After they recovered, they both stood still, looking at each other. Then they hugged. Long time no see, old buddy, Naruto muttered. It has been a long time, hasn't it, Naruto? Gaara asked. Yeah, it has. That it has, Naruto said slowly, and then they parted. Gaara patted his shoulder, and gave him a small smile. Naruto returned it. They both walked back to Gajil and Natsu, who were watching with a pair of very confused expressions. I think you know who and what we are, yes? Naruto asked Gajil, who nodded. The 2 dragon slayers stood up and dusted themselves off. So you are a dragon, just like Metalicana. Then I guess you are Ignel, right? Gajil asked, crossing his arms. Naruto nodded. Wow. You are both so strong. How did you get so strong like that? Will you train us too? Natsu was asking questions one after another, not letting them answer first. Gaara chuckled. Naruto glanced at him, annoyed. What? Naruto asked, crossing his arms. Gaara just smirked. He reminds me of you, when you were still a kid. Gaara said, his smirk dropping. Naruto's expression softened a little when he heard that. Natsu stopped his chanting, and looked at Naruto. Those times are long gone, Gaara. I stopped thinking about them a very long time ago. You should stop too. Naruto said, his expression darkening and his eyes closing. What times? Gajil asked, his interest perked. Gaara sighed and shook his head. I guess you deserve to know. We were not always dragons, Gajil. Natsu, do you know this? Gaara asked seriously. Natsu nodded. We were once human, just like you. We didn't have magic, we had chakra. Chakra is the physical and spiritual energy of a human. Magic is entirely different. I was the leader of my village, and Naruto was the hero of his village. We were and still are best friends. He once had other friends, but whatever Gaara was going to say, it was cut short by Naruto. Gaara! Naruto yelled, his eyes glowing red. Gaara sighed, and shook his head. Naruto, you still didn't let it go? Gaara asked. Naruto turned to face him, his eyes cold as ice. No, I didn't. I know that you have experienced the same things I went through, But mine are entirely different this time. I will never forgive them. Never, Naruto said finally, and that was it. Gaara rubbed his eyes and sighed. As you wish, Naruto. It doesn't matter anymore. You have your son, and I have mine with me. From now on, we should stay by their side, not leave them, Gaara said, looking at Gajil, who was staring at him with wide eyes. Natsu's eyes were wide too. Natsu walked forward towards Naruto, and hugged him. Naruto's eyes grew wide, and after a moment, he returned the embrace. A father embracing his son. Ignel, you don't have to tell me. But if you want to share it with someone, you can always count on your son. Natsu muttered against him, and Naruto once again smiled, pushing back the sad thoughts away. He ruffled his son's hair. Yeah, I will, son, I will. Naruto said, smiling. Gaara only smirked. Mama's boy, Gaara muttered, but Naruto and Natsu still heard him. Shut the fuck up. Both of the fire mages yelled. Gajil only sweat dropped, while Gaara grinned. I love getting you grilled up, Gaara said with an evil smile. Naruto cursed for a moment, but then he also smirked. Says the guy who didn't have the guts to ask out a girl, Naruto said, looking to the side with a smirk. Gajil and Natsu both erupted in laughter, while pointing at Gaara. Oh my god! Seriously? And I thought you were tough. Natsu managed to say between laughters. Gaara's face turned red both in embarrassment and anger. Then he once again smirked. Oh yeah? Then who was the guy that had drank outdated milk and had to go to the bathroom all day? Gaara asked mockingly. This caused Gajil's and Natsu's laughs only to increase. Naruto turned beet red, and he cursed and muttered something about damn annoying red-haired guys. Holy shit, and you would think that dragons are some really serious guys. Gajil said between laughs. I used to think that too, both Naruto and Gaara thought. Then, Gajil suddenly stopped laughing and said, well, my dragon is the best there is. He is so strong, Gajil said, smirking at a fuming Natsu, who then smirked. Oh yeah, well then you should see my dragon's power, he is awesome. I'm sure that he could beat yours. Natsu said, crossing his arms and turning his head to the side. A thick vein mark appeared on Gajil's forehead, as he approached the pink-haired boy. You picking on my dragon? Gajil asked, pushing his forehead against Natsu's. Hell yeah I do, what are you gonna do? Run and tell your daddy? Natsu said, ignoring the glare that was sent his way by a red-haired man. Naruto chuckled. Good one, the blonde man thought, rubbing his nose in pride. My dragon can kick your ass. Gajil said, crossing his arms. Natsu shot back. Oh yeah, let's test that then, Natsu countered. The ranting continued a few hours like that. The two dragons only sighed, a thing they did all the time. Currently, the two dragons and their sons were in front of the Fairy Tail Guild building. Before they could enter, a shout came from the side. Natsu! A small blue cat crashed into Natsu, and started crying. Oh! It's happy! Natsu exclaimed, as he hugged the cat back. From their back came another voice, but it was calm and collected. Gajil. The black-haired dragon slayer turned around to find Panther Lily with crossed arms looking at him with a stern gaze. Panther Lily? Gajil asked, blinking. Gaara raised an eyebrow at the cat who was looking at him with a hard gaze. Happy now noticed it, and started to look at Naruto with a considering gaze. Who is this, Gajil? Lily asked, raising an eyebrow. Gaara in turn didn't surrender, he also crossed his arms. That's Gaara. Gajil answered. Gaara nodded, acknowledging the cat. Panther Lily's gaze didn't move an inch for a moment, but then he nodded. What the hell? What is this magic energy? Were Lily's last thoughts before he pushed them away. Gajil only shrugged, and continued inside the guild. Finally, the war was over. It was done. But Madara was still there, and what now? Oh yeah, the village needed a new Hokage after Tsunade stepped down. Naruto sat in his home, a cup in his hand that was filled with milk and an instant ramen in his other hand. There was a knock on his door. He raised an eyebrow before he put down his meal and went to look who came to his door. When he opened the door, he was greeted by Tsunade. Her face was stoic, but Naruto could see that something was wrong. She was tired, very tired. Just as he was going to ask her what was wrong, she fell on him. He caught her before she could fall. Naruto picked her up and carried her to the couch where he laid her and put a wet cloth on her forehead. After a moment, she came to herself. Hello brat, how are you doing? She asked, her eyes half open. Naruto smiled a little, and nodded his head in answer. Tsunade sighed. She raised her hand and grabbed his, standing up. Look Naruto, I will love you no matter what, you know that right? Tsunade asked. Naruto blinked a few times, before nodding, somewhat unsurely. You are like my son Naruto. I would never let anything happen to you, but you already know that, don't you? Tsunade asked, turning to the side. Naruto nodded again, the suspicious feeling growing by the moment. Today was chosen the next candidate for the new Hokage. Tsunade said after a quick intake of breath. Naruto's eyes widened, before his breathing became quick. He stood up, and a rare smile grew on his face. Did he finally succeed? Tsunade's heart was in pieces after she saw that smile. He became so happy. Her eyes filled with unshed tears as she took a hold of his hand once again, pulling him down to the couch. Naruto's smile disappeared when he saw her tears. What's wrong, Tsunade? He had stopped calling her granny a long time ago. War did that to people. She covered her face with her hands as she sobbed. Naruto continued to ask her what was wrong, until she broke down on his chest. He hugged her, letting her cry herself out on his chest. They chose as Sasuke, Tsunade managed to say. Naruto couldn't believe his ears. Naruto's eyes flew open, as in them flew various emotions: betrayal, sadness, anger. His one eye turned red with a slit pupil, and the other one revealed the Rasengan. His anger was growing quickly. Tsunade sensed the chakra disturbance in him and quickly understood what that meant. He was getting angry. Naruto stood up, letting her fall on the couch. She stared at him with wide eyes filled with concern. He didn't say a thing at first, then he began to walk towards the door. Tsunade stood up and quickly ran to him, and hugged him from behind him. Please, don't go, she pleaded with a soft voice. Naruto didn't move, but then he shook his head. He turned around, and then hugged her as if he was seeing her for the last time. Tsunade clung onto him like a lifeline. Forgive me was all Tsunade heard before the world went black. Naruto was at the east gate, looking back at his village. A village that he had no place. Not anymore. Just as he turned around, a voice stopped him. Where do you think you are going? Naruto's throat let out an animalistic growl, before he turned around. Came here to mock me? Or did you come here to say to me all over and over that you took my dream away? Don't bother, I already know. I hope you enjoy your life. Naruto finished and turned around to walk, but was stopped once again by Sasuke, who was now in front of him. Naruto, where are you going? Sasuke repeated once again, a hand on the hilt of his sword. Naruto narrowed his eyes and put his hand on his sword. It doesn't concern you. Naruto answered with a cold tone. Look, Naruto, I'm really sorry about what happened, but I didn't want this. Sasuke said, his eyes hardening. I know you didn't, Sasuke. I think you didn't want Sakura too? Naruto asked mockingly. Sasuke looked at the ground, cursing himself. The music that goes with this part, Naruto Shippuden OST, Samidare. Always, I am always the last or the one left behind. Everything is taken away from me, even my dream. I think you were right, Sasuke. I don't know how it feels to lose a family, but you have the chance to create another one. Me? Mine was taken away. You were always supported by everybody. Me? I was always scorned and told that I couldn't do it. Sasuke, you were like a brother to me. The brother I never had. Maybe you still are, I don't know. Naruto stopped for a moment, but then he continued. But if you don't get out of my way, I will kill you. Naruto's eyes revealed the Rasengan. Then I guess you will have to. Sasuke said as he revealed his eternal mangekyou sharingan. The music that goes with this part, Kishi Jaikuten. Naruto and Sasuke launched themselves against each other, as they both drew their katanas. Naruto swung it forward first, as Sasuke blocked it with his own. Then the blonde tried to punch the Uchiha in the face, but he caught it. Naruto smirked. That was just what he was expecting. Sasuke's eyes widened. In a yellow flash, they were both gone. The music that goes with this part, Benisubi. As they both landed, Naruto kicked Sasuke on the chest and sent him flying. Sasuke did a back flip and landed gracefully on his feet. He stopped for a moment and inspected his surroundings. They were in a clear land, with no trees or any sign of human life. So Naruto had brought them here so that he wouldn't alert anyone, huh? But he would pay greatly for his lose of concentration. Just as he sensed Naruto coming, he ducked just in time to let the katana pass his head, cutting a bit of hair. Then he was met with the knee of Naruto, who kicked him right in the face. Sasuke channeled chakra to his entire body as he was engulfed in lightning. Chidori Nagashi! Sasuke yelled. Naruto grit his teeth and used his Hiraishin to go away from the electricity. Sasuke was strong, he knew that. Sasuke stood up and held his katana tight in his hand. This would not be an easy fight. Naruto stabbed his katana in the ground as Sasuke did the same, and they both began doing rapidly hand signs. Katan, Gakakyu no Jutsu! Both yelled, as a giant fireball erupted from their mouths and clashed. The sight was amazing. As the fire disappeared, Sasuke shined away and did not regret doing so because the place he just was a moment ago had a giant crater where a second Naruto was and had his hand in the ground, most likely a Rasengan. As Sasuke landed, Naruto was right behind him. Naruto drew back his sword and stabbed Sasuke from the back. Sasuke's eyes grew wide. But just then, Sasuke was gone, and in his place was a log. Chidori Senbon. Naruto stuck to his gut and moved away, just in time to avoid countless lightning senbons, but two embedded themselves to his left arm. He gritted his teeth in pain and anger. He bit his thumb and did some hand signs. Kuchios! Naruto yelled as he struck his hand and the ground letters appeared on the ground, arranged like a spider's web. I need to save all of my chakra, Naruto thought. With a giant smoke, Sasuke narrowed his eyes and readied himself to move. Out of the smoke came out a bird, but it was an ugly one, to say at least. Its legs were below, and one was at the side. Its eyes were enchanted by the Rasengan. Sasuke quickly moved out of the way as the bird clashed to the ground, using the Shunshin. He appeared beneath the bird and prepared his hand signs. Katan, Karya Enden! Fire style, Dragon Flame Bomb. Sasuke yelled as from his mouth shot out basketball-sized fireballs at the unlucky target, burning it to a crisp. That was just what Naruto needed. When Sasuke landed, he didn't have time to predict Naruto's movements. In a second, Naruto was in front of him, and both of his hands were outstretched on both of his sides. Sasuke's eyes widened, recognizing that pose. Shinra Tensei. Almost immediately, Sasuke was flung back by an invisible force that caused him to hit a tree, and pass out from the pain that the invisible gravity had hit him with. Naruto went and checked to see if Sasuke was okay, and sighed a small sigh of relief when he sensed a pulse from his neck. "Goodbye, brother," were the last words Naruto muttered before he disappeared into the darkness of the night. In the moonlight, a single tear glistered. Sasuke opened his eyes and was greeted by the dark sky that was decorated with countless stars. He blinked for a second, and then the memory came back and hit him like a brick. He stood up immediately. "Naruto!" he yelled, looking around, searching for his teammate. No answer. "Naruto, where are you?" Sasuke tried again, but to no avail. "Naruto!" Sasuke yelled, before he punched the ground in anger. Tears leaked down from his Sharingan enchanted eyes, as they retreated, and the unreadable onyx black came from the depths of his eyes. Then, he noticed something glister in the moonlight. He looked where it came from and couldn't believe his eyes. There, in the ground, lay Naruto's headband. He went there and picked it up, and his fist clenched around it. His eyes couldn't stop the tears that escaped them. He disappeared in a swirl of leaves, leaving nothing behind. Sasuke arrived at the Konoha gates just in time to see a crowd there, waiting for them. Tsunade, Sakura, Kakashi, the Ichiraku ramen shop owners and the Konohamaru Corps. He sighed, and walked towards them. Tsunade walked to him, and he could see the tears in her eyes. He took the headband from his pocket and held it to Tsunade. The woman broke down when she saw it, and Sakura ran to her in an attempt to comfort her. Sakura also cried, so did everyone there. Sasuke dropped the headband to the ground, and looked up to the sky. I swear I will get you back," Naruto Sasuke muttered before he disappeared. The headband lay there, unaware of anything. On the metal plate, there stood a proud Konoha emblem of a leaf. There was a gash through it. "Madara, I'm coming for you," Naruto thought, before he continued his journey to maybe his death. "Yo guys, how are you all doing? I kinda felt sad when writing this chapter, so sorry if it sucks. I tried to do the fighting good as possible, but couldn't do the Naruto and Sasuke fight long because Naruto had to save his chakra to fight Madara." Naruto walked through the forest after a long battle with the 6 bodies of pain. Now, he was going to meet the puppeteer. His eyes burned with fury and anger as he neared his destination. A tree made from papers. He walked forward and ripped open the papers and gazed inside. There stood a red-haired man. He was really skinny. On his back were many iron rods. His hands were inside a machine of some kind, probably a tool to control the 6 paths. Immediately, a blue-haired woman took a stance between him and the original pain, intending to protect her comrade. Naruto didn't even flinch. "Conan, it's okay," the red-haired man muttered, as the woman stood aside, and immediately an iron rod flew out of the machine and hit Naruto. He fell on his knees in pain and gasped for breath. The blonde gritted his teeth in anger, and took out the iron rod with force. Nagato raised an eyebrow at that. No one should be able to resist him at a distance like that. "So why him? I assume you have come here to avenge Jiraiya-sensei," Nagato muttered as, his face devoid of any emotion. Naruto clenched his fists, his eyes turned red, the sage mode still staying. His eyes were now slit cubes. "You want to kill me, don't you?" Nagato asked with a mocking voice, not minding in the least that he was almost out of chakra. Conan would protect him with her life, but still, controlling his anger, Naruto took deep breaths and pushed away the negative thoughts. His eyes turned to their normal sky blue as he once again gazed upon the Rasengan wielder. "No, I have come here to hear your story," Naruto said, bowing his head down. Nagato's eyes widened only briefly, before they returned to their normal emotionless look. "Why?" It was a simple question. "Because my sensei entrusted me with a mission. A mission that he started and I must finish. I will find peace," Naruto said, holding his head up high and determination shining in his eyes. Nagato took a moment to observe the young teen, and he saw his old sensei in him. He smiled a little. "Very well, Naruto Uzumaki, you will hear our story." Naruto stared at the ground in shock, as he processed what he had just heard. "Could life be so cruel? So, what is your answer?" Nagato asked, as he turned his head to the side. Naruto could only stare at him with an agape mouth. He once again diverted his eyes to the ground. "What is your answer, Naruto Uzumaki?" "You said you would find an answer?" Nagato said once again. Conan was at the side, her eyes closed. She hated to remember those times. Naruto fell to his knees and opened his eyes in shock. He didn't have an answer. He didn't even have a slightest idea for an answer. How was he going to make peace? Nagato gazed upon the boy. Naruto calmed himself and stood up, and turned his head to the red-haired man. His eyes were full of emotions. "I don't have an answer, but just for now, I promise to you that I will find peace. That is a promise of a lifetime," Naruto finished. Nagato's eyes widened, as he gazed in shock upon the boy. He remembered his old sensei's words. If I can't find peace, I will die trying. If I can't make peace, I will just try until I die. Yahiko, Konan and Nagato, remember this moment. I will find peace, as will you. This is a promise of a lifetime. Promise of a lifetime. They all had yelled. Sensei, have I walked a wrong path? Nagato asked himself mentally, as his eyes watered. He bowed his head. He brought out his hands from the machine and did a hand sign. Konan's eyes widened. No, Nagato, don't. If you do that you will. Konan tried to interrupt, but Nagato interrupted her instead. I must do this, Konan. I must do him for the both of us. Were Nagato's words, as he brought back all the people he had killed. Then his chakra was almost completely gone. He had a last request. Naruto Uzumaki, I have a request. Nagato managed to say. Naruto raised an eyebrow. When I die, I want you to take my eyes. Naruto's eyes widened. What? Naruto tried to say, but no words came out of his mouth. He was shocked beyond belief. Konan was in the same state. These eyes will help you find peace. I hope you can finish what our sensei started. Good luck, Naruto. His last sentence was said with a smile, as his eyes closed to the world and life left him. Naruto was woken up by a yell. Not just any yell. It was Natsu, yelling right next to his ear. Naruto sighed in depression before he stood up and rubbed his head, trying to soothe the growing pain. Natsu was there, tapping his leg on the floor impatiently. Naruto rolled his eyes at that. Hey Ignel! Let's train. The S-class mage exam is only a month away. I need to be in S-class. Natsu shouted, excitement written all over his face. The blonde raised an eyebrow, but then he smirked a little. Oh, is my little boy going to be in S-class? Naruto asked mockingly as he stood up. Natsu's smile disappeared and a thick vein popped out on his forehead. Shut up! Naruto chuckled at the reaction that Natsu had just displayed, but then his expression turned into a serious one. Very well, Natsu. I will train you, but not here. Naruto said, crossing his arms and sitting back on Lucy's bed. He had found that the blonde girl's bed was comfortable. He now understood why Natsu always slept here. Huh? What do you mean not here? Natsu asked, looking disappointed a bit. Naruto sighed. It means that we will have to go to somewhere else. Naruto muttered as he closed his eyes. Natsu's face brightened up at that. He finally got what Ignel had meant. We will be away for a month, so you can go and say goodbye to your friends. Naruto said as he stood up and wasn't surprised to see the downcast look on Natsu's face. His expression softened. Don't worry, son. I will make sure you pass the exam, I promise. Naruto said, ruffling the pink boy's hair and giving him a rare smile. Natsu returned it with his own grin. Meet me in the gates. Naruto said, then he disappeared with a yellow flash. Natsu entered the guild and gathered all of his friends to a table. They were curious. So, what is the deal, Natsu? You got a new technique? Lucy asked with humor, her eyes tingling with amusement. Natsu face-palmed. No. I'm going to train with Naruto for a month, so I came to say goodbye. Natsu muttered, crossing his arms. Many were surprised. For a month? Why? Erza asked. Because the S-class mage exams are a month away, that's why. Natsu shouted excitedly. Why do you always get all the good stuff? Gray muttered under his breath as he sulked into a corner. Natsu grinned. Okay. Bye. Natsu shouted as he ran out of the guild hall. Everyone breathed out a tired sigh. That's Natsu for you, they muttered. Naruto was waiting at the gate when Natsu finally arrived, and they could begin their journey. When they started walking, Naruto stopped. Natsu turned his head back. Are you going too? Naruto asked to no one in sight. Natsu was about to ask who he had asked the question until Gaara and Gajil walked out from the gates. Gaara nodded. Good, we will see each other in a month then, Gaara. Naruto calmly finished, as he once again started walking. Gaara answered with a short nod, as he motioned Gajil to follow him. I hope this goes well, Naruto thought to himself, before he continued to his journey with Natsu. Naruto was jumping from tree to tree as he traveled across the land. It had been 7 months since he left Konoha. He let out a short sigh. Just then, he froze and stopped on a branch. There were 3 chakra signatures that were following him. How hadn't he noticed them? The blonde missing Nin jumped down from the branch and landed on the ground, where he stood still and waited his followers to come in sight, and he wasn't disappointed. Indeed, there were 3 Konoha ninja that had followed him and were now in front of him. Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, Kakashi Hatake. They all stood in front of him. They stared back at him, with determination shining in their eyes. Were they trying to bring him back? Or were they trying to kill him? He rolled his eyes at the latter. Naruto! Sakura called to him, as he took a step forward. Kakashi raised his hand in stop. Naruto stared back at them, his face devoid of any emotion. He then cocked his head to the side and asked, What do you want, Konoha ninja? That sentence was like a knife to the 3 leaf ninjas. Didn't Naruto consider himself a Konoha ninja anymore? Don't say that, Naruto. You are still from the leaf. Kakashi tried to reason with him. Naruto gazed upon him and his expression didn't even change a bit. No, I am not. Perhaps you forgot that I am a missing nin now? Naruto asked mockingly, as he turned his back and started to walk. He stopped when Sasuke was now in front of him. You are not going anywhere, Naruto. You are coming back home, Sasuke said, his hand on his kusanagi. Naruto rolled his eyes. Oh yeah? Then force me, Rokudame-sama. The last part was said with an emphasis upon it. Sasuke flinched at that, but then his expression turned hard. Sasuke walked forward but was stopped. Where are you going, SAS? Don't interrupt. Were all Sasuke had to say. When he neared Naruto he spoke. You are coming back. It was a demand. No, I am not. It was a fact. We will see. Sasuke drew his sword. Indeed we will. Naruto drew his katana, and then they clashed. They clashed swords with such force and speed that even Kakashi had to reveal his sharingan to see the movements. Sasuke flung his sword down in a vertical line as Naruto moved to the side, letting the sword pass by his shoulder harmlessly. Then Sasuke intended to punch Naruto in the face, but Naruto just moved his head to the side, letting it pass, and his expression didn't even waver. Then Naruto kicked Sasuke in the gut, sending him sprawling backwards. Sasuke skidded to a halt as he drew back his hand and flung it. This time it was enchanted by lightning. Chidori Senbon, Sasuke said calmly as countless senbons flew towards Naruto. The blonde flew through hand signs faster than a normal eye could see. Doton, Ganbankyu. Earth style, bedrock coffin. Naruto muttered, and he was engulfed in a coffin made from earth. The lightning senbons just stabbed themselves into the coffin, and then the coffin exploded, and from it flew out Flame Dragon right towards Sasuke. The Uchiha shined away from his spot and appeared away. They continued fighting with their swords. I don't get it, Kakashi muttered. Sakura perked up. What don't you get, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked, not taking her eyes off the fight. They seem like they aren't even trying. Kakashi said. Sakura turned to him. What do you mean? The girl asked. Kakashi rubbed his head. Look at their expressions. They look bored. Like they know that they can fight until tomorrow. And then Sakura realized it. Their faces were looking gloomy. They looked like they were bored. As Sasuke once again clashed with Naruto, he closed his eyes and reopened them again. Red eyes with 3 dots greeted Naruto. Then Sasuke's eyes widened, and he cursed himself for his mistake. Naruto smirked. Then the blonde disappeared in the smoke, revealing that it was a clone. Sasuke's eyes filled with panic as he looked around him. Had he lost him again? But when? Oh yeah, when the coffin exploded. Sakura and Kakashi were looking around too, trying to locate Naruto's chakra, but they couldn't locate him. What now, Sasuke? Sakura asked, going near him and taking his hand into hers and burying her head in his shoulder to conceal her tears. We keep looking, was Sasuke's blunt answer. Sasuke had never been the same since Naruto had left. Naruto landed softly on the open field as he rose and looked at the one man that had caused all this. Tobi. So, you finally came, Uzumaki? Tobi chuckled as he clapped his hands. Naruto's face turned into a sneer. But then Tobi stopped chuckling. Tobi's mask had 2 holes in it now. They both had the Sharingan. Apparently, he didn't find any Rinnegan when he went to take it. Such a pity. When I kill you, I will take the Rinnegan, Tobi said coldly. The blonde just drew his sword in reply and readied himself. Tobi drew his war fan and readied himself. Let's see who will be the one that gets out alive from here, Naruto, were the last words of Tobi before he flew forward. Naruto raised his katana just in time to block the war fan that certainly would have hit him. Then the masked man pushed his weapon with such great force that the ground beneath Naruto cracked. He's strong, Naruto thought. Tobi jumped away and did his hand signs. Katan, Guka Mekyaku, fire style, great fire annihilation. From Tobi's mouth that was behind the mask flew out a giant wall of flame and went towards Naruto. The blonde's eyes widened at the size of the flames as he quickly revealed his Rinnegan and held out his arms each at his side, palms opened. And just as the fire reached him, he yelled his technique. Shinra Tensei. Then the giant wall was blown away by the force of the blast. Tobi made an amused sound. You can use the Rinnegan quite well. Let's see you dodge this. Madara chuckled before he once again did his hand signs. Katan, Kuka Meshitsu. Fire style. Magnificent fire destruction. Tobi yelled, and then hell exploded. From Tobi's mask flew out an enormous fire mass that went to Naruto. The Rinnegan user once again was surprised at the power of these flames and did the only thing he could do at the moment. He absorbed the attack and quickly shined away. He couldn't just teleport himself away from that. It was too enormous. Naruto appeared meters away and thought that it was time to go to offense. Futon, Kaze no Senbon. Wind style, needles of the wind, Naruto said as he threw an enormous amount of needles made of wind towards Tobi, which he blocked perfectly, since the Senbons couldn't be deflected or blocked by anything. Damn! He's too strong, my jutsus are not strong enough. I must use the chakra form, Naruto said to himself mentally as he concentrated. Just as Tobi thought that he had given up, he was surprised. Naruto was engulfed in yellow flames and black seals appeared on his stomach and extended all over his body. The irises turned orange. So you took the power of the 9 tails, Interesting, Tobi mused to himself as he closed his eyes. When he reopened them, his eternal mangekyou sharingan was revealed. And after that, the Susanoo immediately followed. Toby was engulfed in black, red and yellow as his Susanoo revealed itself. It had 4 arms and in 2 of them were 2 strange daggers. Let's see you hold against this. Madara said as his Susanoo grew a second face and both sides did only a single hand seal and Toby himself did only one. Let's see you dodge this, the orange-masked man said. He was relaxed. His Susanoo would protect him. Now I know that this would be impossible without the Rasengan, but oh well, laughing face. And then, Naruto's eyes just grew wide. There was a huge planet of ground upon him, and he stared at it. Shit! I have to stop it, or I will die. But my chakra will be completely exhausted, Naruto thought to himself as he extended his arms towards the planet, and shouted as strong as he could and channeled the half of his chakra. Shinra Tensei! It was his last chance. Then, the overwhelming planet stopped. After that, the giant rock started to crack, until it fell to little pieces. Naruto gasped for breath. But then, his relief was gone. There was a new one. Before he could hold on what was going on, his arm was extended, and he started to make a Rasenshuriken. It was like an instinct. When he finished it, he threw it to the rock. Futon, Rasenshuriken. The shuriken-shaped chakra flew towards the rock and in contact, exploded. It was a massive one. It could attract many people. Naruto realized that he had also succeeded on this one too. But he had forgotten to protect his back. Before he could comprehend it, a sword was in his chest. His own sword. Then he realized that he no longer held it. But when? How? It didn't matter anymore. The world went dark. Here he was, in the sewers. The place where Kurama resided. He walked forward, his feet making a sound as it hit the sewer water. What now, Naruto? Kurama asked in a bored tone as he rested his head on his paws. It looked like it didn't even bother him that he would die too. What can I do? He defeated me, Naruto said, his voice devoid of any emotion. Kurama shook his head in disapproval. It isn't over until you are dead. The fox muttered. But I am dead, damn it. Naruto snapped at the giant Bijuu, as he fell to his knees and grasped his hair, pulling it. No, you are not. Kurama tried to reason with him. Naruto glanced at him, his sky-blue eyes glowing with tears. I will die any time now, damn it. I will die here, he continued to mumble the last part to himself as he rocked back and forth on his place. But then, the blonde broke the silence. Hey, Kurama. Naruto tried. The fox grunted in reply. If you were free, could you defeat him? Naruto asked, his face still on his knees. The fox raised an eyebrow at that question. Of course I could. I'm a Bijuu, the giant creature answered. Naruto rolled his eyes at that. Then, the fox paused. Why did you ask? The fox asked calmly, his face full of confusion. No answer. Answer me, Naruto. Why did you ask? The fox tried again. No answer. Then the creature remembered that he could see what the blonde was thinking and took a glance at his brain to see what was the deal. But when he saw it, he was enraged. No, no, and no. You won't absolutely do that. The Bijuu roared, hitting the cage bars with his paws. The blonde smiled sadly. It's the only way. The boy, no, the man said as he stood up and started to walk towards the cage bars. No. We can find another way, Naruto. Don't do it. The fox was roaring at this point. If I don't stop him, too many people will die. I can't allow that. Naruto answered as he raised his hand and grasped the paper with the kanji 4 seal on it. Why do you care about them? They didn't do anything for you. You don't understand, Naruto. You will die. The Kyuubi was pleading. I understand perfectly. And I know that I will die. But at least no one will have to die for me, were the last words of Naruto Uzumaki before he ripped the seal and let the greatest of all the Bijuus free. Madara was walking away from the corpse of the Uzumaki until he felt a chakra. One that sent chills of fears through his spine. Before he could turn back, the Kyuubi was already behind him in all its glory. It was growling at him, showing its white and sharp teeth, its 9 tails swaying rapidly behind it, giving the prey the impression that it was very, very angry. It's all because of you, the giant fox muttered between clenched teeth, as its gaze rested upon the body of a blond man, with his clothing torn open on his chest, and with blood leaking out of his mouth. His stomach was bare, there was no seal. Despite the blood leaking from his mouth, it was curved upwards in a small smile. A smile meant for the giant monster. A smile for Kurama. Toby raised an eyebrow, but then he chuckled, until it turned into a full laughter. The Bijuu glared at him, its blood-red eyes shining with anger. So you developed feelings for that pathetic boy? That's really unexpected, Kyuubi. Toby mused with an amused voice. This only caused him to anger the Bijuu. Well, too bad for him. His sacrifice for you will be for nothing. Now I will destroy all of the villages, with your power. Now obey. Madara said the last part with force. The Kyuubi sneered. Don't think so, you old fossil. You can't control me with that cursed sharingan of yours anymore. The fox had an evil smirk on his face. Toby suddenly felt fear grip at his insides. Thanks to the kit, you and your eyes have no power over me, because the Rasengan cancels it. And indeed, for a moment the eyes of the fox turned into silver and purple, showing the Rasengan, and then again back to their normal red. The Kyuubi had the Rinnegan. Toby's eyes grew wide, fear filled within them, and then Kyuubi brought his tails near its mouth, and black energy started to form. Then hell exploded. Kyuubi stared at the giant crater in front of him. Toby, or whoever the hell he was gone. Then Kurama turned its attention back to the kit. He ran back to the body and put his giant paw over the body. He sent his red chakra upon the boy in the hopes of healing him, but no effect. He tried again. No effect. Again and again. Nothing. The fox couldn't help it. It roared. It was a massive roar. It shook the ground. He released all of his pain. Actually, he did not understand this one bit. He was an emotionless monster. He couldn't feel emotion. At least that was what he had thought. But this kit, this boy, he changed him. That he did. Oh, how Kurama wanted to see him just open his eyes and yell, haha. I got you, you stupid flea bag. How he wished he still had one of those large shit-eating grins on his face he had used to have. Come on kid, wake up, you're gonna be late for the academy, the Bijou muttered to the body, but to no avail. But then, an idea came to his mind. Yes, it can work. Then he glanced at the blonde boy that lay there, devoid of any life. Then he caressed his face with its claw, careful not to do any damage. You will live again. Then Kurama channeled all of his chakra into the body of the kit, hoping that it would work. Slowly, his tails started to disappear, until only one remained. Good luck, kit. There was a small honest smile on the face of the giant fox, before its body disappeared to the wind, and Naruto's body changed. It grew to the size of the Kyuubi, but it was different. He had 2 giant wings, scales and 2 horns on his head near 2 large bat wings like ears. He was a dragon. Currently, Naruto and Natsu were standing in front of their greatest enemy, the train. Ignel, must we do this? Natsu asked in a desperate voice. Naruto gulped and nodded hesitantly. Yes. We must. We must make a sacrifice to gain power, Naruto said as he pumped his fist in the air, encouraging his son. Natsu cheered too, as he muttered his favorite phrase. 5 minutes later in the train. No. I can't take it anymore. Natsu was on the seats, lying down and holding his stomach with one hand, and one over his mouth. Naruto was no better. The blonde was laying on the floor, holding his stomach and covering his mouth, looking like he would throw up. Oh my God! What is this evil thing? Naruto yelled in irritation as he tried to grasp the seats in order to pull himself up, but failed. The force was too much. I hate transports. The father and son yelled at the same time. Ugh, I'm feeling really bad, Gajil said as he was leaning against the wall next to him as they traveled in a carriage. His sweat dropped at his father's position. Gaara was turned upside down, leaning against the wall, his head on the floor. His both hands were covering his mouth, as his eyes were wide as saucers and blank white. I can't take it anymore, please kill me, they both muttered, but then they covered their mouths, trying to push back the throw-up. Naruto opened his eyes and had to blink a few times in order to take all the things in sight. He felt weird. His body didn't feel normal. Then he noticed it. He was now as tall as a friggin' Bijou, and not only that, but he was something that he had never seen or he had never ever read about. What the? The ex-human muttered before he started to panic. What was he now? What hell did happen? Wasn't he dead? The dragon started to turn around furiously, trying to grasp any information. He was in the same place that he had fought Toby, but it was only a giant crater now. He wondered why. And Toby was nowhere to be seen. He raised his legs and arms and saw the claws in them. He saw his giant wings sprouting from behind him, and he saw his massive tail that had spikes on it. What the hell am I? Were his thoughts for that time. The dragon's eyes filled with anger and sadness, as he now remembered what had happened. Kurama, why? The creature couldn't hold it in any longer. He growled. He opened his giant mouth and let out a massive roar that shook the ground. Then he opened his mouth once again, and roared. But this time, massive flames erupted from his mouth and went to the sky, coloring it in red and yellow. When Naruto had finally calmed down, he shut his blue-slit eyes and thought for a moment. What should I do? He thought in desperation. Jiraiya-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, give me guidance, were the last thoughts of Naruto before he readied his wings, lifted them upwards and shook them downwards, going up. He took a few minutes to get the hang of it, and when he did, he flew away from the crater to find himself a place to hide for the time. Currently, Natsu was in great pain. Because he was sprawled on the ground and his whole body was aching in pain, Naruto had thought that teaching Natsu taijutsu would be a good idea. So he started teaching it to him. You never know when you might need it, really. Since Natsu's magic was based on fire, most of his attacks were long-ranged. But he could also use his flames by covering his arms and legs in fire. That is why Naruto started to teach him what he called taijutsu close combat. Natsu was breathing heavily, his eyes were closed. Naruto was standing, looking bored, hands in his pockets. And he didn't even have a cut or dirt on him. He wasn't even sweating. Dad, how much longer? Natsu asked as he tried to catch his breath. Naruto raised one of his eyebrows. What? That was only a warm-up, Naruto said. Natsu didn't bother to give a response, he just groaned. Naruto smirked slightly, but then his face turned hard. Natsu, stand up, Naruto said slowly as he crossed his arms. Natsu's eyes widened briefly before he stood up, his face stoic and hard. He knew this tone of Ignel. He only used it when there was something important. What I am about to teach you now will give you the advantage in almost any battle. You already know that you can infuse your fists and legs with flames, so if you could use better moves with them, wouldn't that make you stronger? Naruto asked slowly, tilting his head to the side. Natsu thought for a moment, and then nodded. So that is why. Natsu, do you know why I took you to this trip? The blonde asked once again. Natsu thought for a moment, but then he realized that he didn't know. Naruto shook his head and Natsu rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly. I took you to this trip to unlock something for both of us. It's a great power. You will have to use it very wisely. That is, if you can achieve it. Naruto's tone changed to a teasing one as he started to circle Natsu. Natsu, being the hothead he is, immediately took the challenge. I'll get it. I'll kick your ass if I have to. Natsu yelled, a giant grin evident on his face. He opened his palm and brought it to the front of his body and caught his wrist using the free one. In his palm started to gather small flicker of flames, until it turned into a giant ball, the size of Naruto's giant Rasengan. The pink-haired boy grinned as he raised his arm and brought that ball above his head, holding it up. Naruto smirked, turned around and started to walk. He already knew what Natsu was going to do, so he opened his palm. Natsu suddenly launched himself forward to attack Naruto from behind, his attack ready in his palm. Then, Naruto turned around, a grin on his face and a Rasengan in his palm. Fire Dragon's Meteor! Natsu yelled as he struck. Rasengan! Naruto yelled as he struck back. The result was a giant explosion. A giant cloud of dust rose from the ground, covering the field. Parts of ground and rocks scattered around. Fortunately no one else was around, so no one got hurt. If anyone was there, he or she sure would be dead. When the dust cleared, there stood Naruto, his eyes slightly wide. Natsu was laying on the ground, unconscious. What shocked Naruto was that his hand had small burns. It would be gone in an hour, but someone to be able to hurt him was impressive. The blonde smiled. Natsu was getting strong, definitely. Gajil was sweating as he had his hands on his knees as he desperately gasped for air. Damn that old fool. Gaara was standing in front of the black-haired boy and he was smirking. Oh, how he enjoyed to push the limits of his son. Metalicana, show me that again. Gajil said as he wiped his forehead. Gaara nodded, and raised his hand and pointed it in the direction of an iron plate. Then he closed his fist. The iron slowly started to crumble, as it started to shatter to small pieces of dust, until it became iron sand. The red-haired man slowly reopened his fist and let it float. The sand slowly rose from the ground and floated freely. Then Gaara swung his arm in the direction of a giant boulder, and the iron sand flew towards it. The effect was immediate. As the sand hit the boulder, it scattered to small pieces. The force of the iron sand was enormous. Gajil had decided. He would learn that. You can mastery over iron so that you can manipulate it in any form. As you can see, I can manipulate it even if it's like sand. You must have great control over it to hold it like that. Sand is infinite. I must control every single piece of it if I want it to fight for me. It is very hard, so don't stop training, understand? Gaara instructed in a stern voice. Gajil nodded, and focused on his magic. He would have control over iron perfectly in no time. What if Naruto has Madara's eternal mangekyou Sharingan in Fairy Tail? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.